So today is all about investing. So anybody here doing investing already? It's okay if you're not. I just, sometimes I have wholesalers, sometimes I have people who aren't even in like licensed, that kind of stuff. Is everybody licensed?
Yes.
Okay, no big deal. I mean, like you can do both or not. Investing, like I invested, we started investing before I was actually in real estate a bazillion years ago kind of thing. So, I like investing a lot. Today we're going to be talking about how to make money with real estate investing, both from the investor side, but also from the realtor side as well. So let's go ahead and get started here. So my name is Alan Richardson. I'm the managing broker here. I'm an investor. Now, I want to be real clear about some things. I'm not selling anything. Most of the time, if you go any kind of investing classes, somebody's trying to sell you something. Somebody's got a pitch. Someone has, you know what? If you'll just give me $5,000 or $10,000, I'm going to teach you how to print money. Mm-hmm. And if it was that great, why would they be selling their system, right? They'd be left printing money. So that's not what this is. I don't do any get rich quick. I'm not promoting an investment company. I'm not promoting any kind of system, nothing like that. I do want you to understand how to work with investors. I want you to be investors. I think that all real estate agents should be an investor as well, because we come across some amazing deals. And sometimes, I look at how many folks I have made really, really wealthy over the years, and there's nothing wrong with me being part of that group. So maybe it's the greedy capitalist in me, but I want to help them get wealthy, but I also would like to be able to take advantage of it as well. Is anybody investing at all yet? No big deal.
I have with my ex.
What's that?
I have with my ex.
Your eggs?
Ex.
Oh, ex. Okay. I thought you said eggs. I'm like, And so was that rentals or was that flipping?
Both.
Okay. Very good. Well, then feel free to chime in, because there isn't one way of doing this. Like, I'm going to show you how I do rentals. I'm going to show you how I do flips. We're currently engaged in both of them. And I kind of want to I'm going to show you my way, but that doesn't mean that that's the only process, the only way to be able to do it. So yeah, that's my whole spiel there. We're going to be talking about types of investors, sourcing properties. It's going to be probably your biggest challenge, buy and holds, and then fix and flips. So we're going to break down all these type of investments and go through the how-tos, this whole 9 yards here. So the investing class, investment carry risk. Does that seem like a given?
Yes.
Absolutely.
How much risk are you willing to take?
Risk it all, maybe.
Well,
depending on what you can afford to lose.
Well, see, here's the deal. Like, everywhere in the world wants low risk, high returns. There's a reason that the saying is high risk, high returns, low risk, low returns. But everyone has a level of risk that they are okay taking or not taking. Mm-hmm. You have to be comfortable with that, both as an investor, but also when working with investors. Like, there is so many people that watch these flipping shows and that kind of stuff. And you see them, everybody in the world wants to do it. Because, in 30 minutes, you can find a property, acquire it, fix it up, sell it at an open house, and make hundreds of thousands of dollars, right? That's just how it is. So everyone thinks that it's really this easy. But when it really starts coming down to it, you gotta look at what is my level of risk. And so much in investing, it's about understanding your risk, where risk is. And so when you're working with an investor, you want to make sure that you talk about risk. Can they lose money doing this? Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Right. Now, we're not here to try and help you lose money. We're definitely here to help you make money, but all investment is a risk, right? Meteor comes crashing down, blows up one of your houses. There's just nothing I can do about it, right? Hopefully you got insurance, but you just don't know how things are going to go. So I've had all sorts of crazy things happen over the years. I had one house where the whole front, it was a ranch with a full basement. The whole basement fell in. It had been raining for like 3 weeks. That's just not something you recover real good from. Now, I didn't really I didn't make any money. I didn't really lose any money on the deal either, but that was one of those where I was just happy to get out without losing my shirt kind of thing.
Hallelujah.
But like if you can't handle the risk, then this is not the place for you, for your investors, that kind of stuff. If you have someone that is super risk averse, I only say that because a lot of times I see where agents will work with somebody that has unrealistic expectations and who will drag them on like, hey, I'm looking for this property, and the property is a unicorn, right? I want to be able to buy it for $10 and sell it for 10,000 or some astronomical number. I don't want to have to do any work. I just want to buy it low, sell it high, and not have to do anything. And that's not out there, because if that was out there, you would do that.
Yeah.
So like you have to be honest, and it's also very worthwhile having that conversation about risk. Now, as we go through it, you're going to see risk and the idea of risk come up again and again and again. And so I just like to kind of start off kind of going over that. And the other thing that's going to happen is once you start playing in the investing game, you're also going to come across a lot of commercial properties. And so we have 4 basic commercial classifications: industrial, retail, residential, and office. Now, of course, the residential properties, we're very familiar with those, right? That's kind of our bread and butter, but it's also duplexes, quads, multifamily, apartments, the whole 9 yards. And so we'll go into a little bit more detail of that. Now, on the other categories here, so like industrial properties, those are our warehouses. Right now, what's the big industrial property everyone is all in arms about? Data centers. Everybody's all pissed off and mad about data centers right now, right? There's all these petitions, that kind of stuff. But this category has been really hot, and now it's starting to slow down a little bit. And depending on what you come across, there is some opportunities there, mainly in smaller warehousing, smaller industrial spaces. There's still a lot of need there. They built 1 million square foot stuff everywhere, but having some, getting a 5 or a 10,000 square foot industrial space is hard to find. And retail properties, these are our shopping centers, gas stations, C-stores, that kind of stuff, coffee shops. Retail has been all over the place, and it's because we love the convenience of Amazon, but sometimes we get a little house crazy too. And so what we're seeing is new retail is doing really well. Old vintage retail is having a much harder time. Office is both ends of the spectrum weird, and what I mean by that is primarily office is doing really poorly, because what do all the bosses want for the employees? Back in the office, and what all the people want to do, work from home, right? And so there's this push-pull going on, and so we have just large amounts of office space sitting there. At the same time, one part of office is medical dental, and that's doing astronomically well. So it just kind of depends. You're going to come across these same things. A lot of these same investment strategies that we're talking about are going to apply in here. I don't recommend kind of starting off in industrial, or on the commercial side, but you will come across them. And so I like to at least talk about them a little bit. The other thing you're going to see are classifications of properties: class A, B, C, D, E, F, sometimes, like depending on who's doing the reviews. Class A properties, these are and this goes right back to risk. Mm-hmm. Class A properties are the newest properties in the best areas. They don't have any deferred maintenance. They are very low risk. So what are the returns on Class A properties? Low. They are low. So this is, that the new shopping center in the best part of town, the new townhomes and condos in Buckhead. Correct. Those kind of things are really low risk. They're also not going to have the greatest return because they have a very, very low risk. Now, B-class properties are a little bit older. You're not going to see a lot of any kind of functional obsolescence on them or anything like that, but they are going to be a little bit older. They shouldn't need major repairs. They will need some upkeep and, a little bit of lipstick on the pig kind of thing. They're still going to be in good trade areas, and the returns are going to be better. Now, your C-class properties, these are the older properties. These are the ones that are going to possibly need a roof, need new systems installed, that kind of stuff.
They're where the trade areas probably moved out. You know, that Walmart or that building was a Walmart 20 years ago. Now it's a Roses. You know, y'all know what I'm talking about, right? Things have moved away sometimes on those. Really old apartment complexes, things like that. Now, these are all your C-class properties are all higher risk. So how's your returns on here?
It's gonna be higher.
It's going to be higher. But one thing I want you to understand is that inside these classifications, it's not just the risk. It's also, so like I had, when the market was downturned, we picked up just a gem of this little 3-2 ranch in East Point, right on the bus route. And I bought it for like 30 grand. And I could rent it out for well over $1,000 a month. Great rental. I've had to replace the windows because they get shot out. There is a entrepreneur across the street who likes to kind of a vendor of wares. He sells lots of stuff. And so we have a certain element, or we had a certain element on the street. Being near a drug dealer is not a great thing to do. So we had bullet holes in the doors. We were right on the bus route, so it's very easy to lease the property out, but I could change tenants like I changed underwear. You know, it was a really transient area. Amazing returns. But if I was going to get a call at 1 o'clock in the morning, it was because of this property. You know, like if there was always repairs, there's always headache. I don't like C-class properties because I'm an investor that doesn't have the time or the patience to deal with that level of frustration. Some people want really great returns, but they don't want the headaches associated with a C-class property sometimes. So like it's just like everyone wants the C-class returns. No one wants the C-class headaches. I'm just, you know, like I get it. You will have certain investors that will be very much okay with it, and that's okay. You know, like we ended up selling that house, even though it was a great return. It wasn't something that fit for me.
Correct.
Right. And so you're going to see that kind of thing go through, and the same's going to apply for like I don't do C-class flips in C-class areas. I'll take an ugly house and make it pretty, but I try to avoid the C's. I love the B's. I don't do a lot of C unless it's in a really transitional area and stuff like that. But that's a me thing. That's something that it's going to depend on the goals of your investor, that kind of stuff. If they're wanting really high returns, what area are they going to have to be looking at? C's.
See.
The best returns are in C's. They are highest risk, highest returns. So we're going to be mainly focusing on income producing properties, fix and flips, buy and holds, that kind of stuff. So on here, your two major investor classifications. So on fix and flips, they tend to be, your investors need to be more actively involved. Like if you have a flipper that wants you to find the property, manage the property, and do everything and turn around and sell the property, that's their job, not yours, right? Your true flippers are going to be involved right from the very beginning. Otherwise, you better be making a lot more money on that property than just your compensation. Now, the problem with fix and flips is as soon as you sell a house, you're employed. So it's always, you've got to always be hunting for the deals. Now, my buy and hold folks, these folks can be much less involved, especially if they use property managers, which I am always going to recommend doing property management. They're going to get long-term gains. There's 4 different ways that you make money on investment property. And we're going to break down an investment property here as well in a minute. Now, the other thing you're going to see is wholesalers. So I have a love-hate relationship with wholesalers. Have you guys dealt with wholesalers yet? Okay. Here's the deal. Whatever a wholesaler tells you is a lie. And I know that sounds jaded, but the wholesaler will tell you, hey, you can buy this for $70,000. That's a lot. That's not the real price. Then they'll say, you know what? I pulled comps. You can sell this for $300,000. It's always a lie because they're not licensed, and most of the time that they don't pull real comps. And then they'll say it only needs $20,000 in repair. Now, that doesn't mean that this may not be a property you want to acquire, but you have to do your own due diligence. Don't listen to anything they tell you. What a wholesaler does, he finds someone who says, you know what? If I got 90 grand, I'd sell this house. So he says, hold on a minute. I'll buy it from you for $90,000 by this day. And then he goes out, tries to find someone that will buy it from him for 105 or 120 or whatever. So he's trying to make the spread, right? And so they one of two things normally happens. They're either going to transfer their interest over and do an assignment, or they're going to do back-to-back closings where they go into this room and they buy the house and they turn around and go into this room and they sell the house. And you can do things like bridge financing, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. So on here, most of these guys are unlicensed because it's really hard for us. And I'll go into that. I do some business with wholesalers, but not because of anything they say. And I'm sorry if I sound really jaded. It's just I've worked with wholesalers for a long time, and most of them would back over their mother for $1. So
Yes.
it's just it's kind of how I generally feel. So if you guys are wholesaling, I apologize. I'm sure not every wholesaler is a POS, but I'm not.
Most of them are.
Okay, yeah,
Yes.
that's just how I feel. So now, can agents be wholesalers? Yes, yeah, we can. We have to be very careful though. So first of all, we can't disguise who we are, right? So we have to be very transparent. We are a licensed real estate professional, so it can't be like, well, I'm buying it for myself, so it doesn't count. Yeah, it counts. You're a license, so you have to make sure that that's disclosed. We also, so we can't misrepresent us or ourselves in any of the deals. And then for us, a wholesaler goes out and finds some guy who wants to sell a house and gives you a price. For us, we can't do it exactly that way because in its purest form, that's a net listing. Y'all remember net listings from real estate school?
Yes.
And net listings are illegal, right? Exactly. Now, that doesn't mean that we can't do wholesaling. What it means is that we have to be very clear in what we're doing. The biggest challenge for agents, and I've got 4 or 5 agents that are wholesalers. I do some very limited wholesaling only because like sometimes we'll acquire property and then I change my mind or I run out of money in other places. And so I just have to turn around and sell it. I don't truly do real wholesaling that the way it's traditionally done, but we do a little bit of it. But the biggest challenge for most licensees is how do we have to when we have to have written permission to advertise. And so what does that mean? We have to have a listing agreement.
Yes. Correct.
Right. And so if we're going to get a listing agreement, we have to state what the list price is and the terms and the whole 9 yards. So now we have to be very creative and normally like there's several closing attorneys that have certain language that can assist you with that. But you just have to disclose everything right up front about the whole process, how it's being done. The real challenge though is that once you go through all that with a property owner, most of the time well then why wouldn't you just sell it for me and make the commission? So it can be done. It's not most of the time it's done by unlicensed people because they're trying to skirt around. Now there is some new stuff coming down. I was up at the Capitol for the GAR thing, and they are locking down on wholesalers. We're going to see whether they're trying to give the commission some teeth to actually be able to arrest wholesalers. They're transacting real estate without a license. So I don't know if it's going to work or not, but they're talking a good game right now. So it's going to be interesting to see. So any questions about wholesalers? All right, let's talk about the property types here. So single family detached, that's definitely going to be something that we are very, very comfortable with. But even inside that classification, like it's about finding the right property in the right places. It's about knowing your areas. Knowing a market is really, really valuable. just that normal nuts and bolts. That's why the real estate professionals are so integral in this whole process, because when you know a market, that's really, really valuable information. Now, duplexes, triplexes, and quads. Why are those a really good investment opportunity? You guys think?
It's
It's
renting.
multiple rent,
Multiple
and you can
income
occupy
streams.
and collect rent too.
Well, but what kind of financing can you use on a duplex, a triplex, and a quad?
You use owner, like the new FHA,
FHA.
so you're gonna be living there,
Well, most of our investment properties, how much do we have to put down?
20%,
20% on most of our investment properties. What do you got to put down on an FHA?
3.5.
3.5. It's a very different game. We see a lot of new, younger investors. A lot of times will do a duplex, triplex, or quad, live on one side. And by the way, FHA is a owner occupant financing. It's not it's not an investor financing. You have to state that you're going to live there and you should live there. But we have a lot of folks that want to start investing, and they'll go in and they'll move into a quad, occupy one of the 4 units, and then lease the other 3 out. Generally speaking, a duplex pays for itself. Just most of the numbers when you actually run them, I can live in one side, lease out the other, and now I'm living rent free. If I triplex, I'm cash flowing. If I'm a quad, I'm more than cash flowing. It turns out really, really well. But being that you only have to put 3.5% down, your investment to get in is a much nicer place to be. How about townhomes and condos? What's the benefit of focusing on those?
Older folks who doesn't want to cut the yard anymore.
Not just older folks, but like,
It's
when
more convenient.
well, they are very convenient.
Yes,
It's
it's very
100%. Well, we find, but like, I want you to think about the starter market, and the starter home market has been really kind of challenged for the last several years. But back when, back in my day, I started off with a 3-1 ranch. And then we moved up. I remember when we had a 3-1.5 at one point. We were real fancy, and then moved up to a 3-2 ranch. Right? What's the 3-2 ranch today? It's not there. So what's our starter home product?
The townhouses.
The townhouses
Yes.
and condos is a starter home product. They tend to run 15% on the entry level side. Now, I'm not saying there aren't high end townhomes. You can find $1 million townhomes, but they tend to run about 15% less on the entry side. And so they're more, like you said, Shani, they're more conveniently located. We're also seeing where a lot of our younger buyers, they don't want to have a yard. They don't want to have to deal with maintenance and all that kind of stuff. They want to be conveniently located. They want to be near everything. And so townhomes and condos is a really good thing. For me as a flipper, even as a buy and hold, I love both of those. We have a condo, and even though we have high condo fees, it's part of the rent, and it's what it is, right? But my condo also is my homeowner's insurance. It's also my water bill. It's also my garbage. It covers all those kind of things in there as well. And so that works for us on there. The nice part, if you are looking to flip townhomes and condos, is do I have to worry about the outside?
No, but you have to worry about the HOA.
Yeah, but the thing is everyone there is going to have to worry about the HOA the same way. It's not like, oh, I'm the only person that has to deal with the HOA. If you're going to live here, everyone here. So like your the comparables you're using, everything is based on everybody's in the HOA the same way.
Correct.
And so you see that kind of going on. You do want to check assessments and that kind of stuff. But for me, the nice part is I'm not replacing a roof. I'm not replacing windows. I don't have to paint the outside. I'm not, all that stuff that I would normally have to do on the outside of a house. I don't have to worry about it. So I like being able to do that. How about mobile homes, modular homes?
It's kind of depends.
See, you getting all bougie on me. You got to get away from bougie and into.
No,
I
they're very
don't want to
nice
say that because
mobile
my
homes.
family lives in mobile homes. That's why I said it depends where it's located. Like, what if it's in a mobile home park?
Well,
Well,
most of your mobile home parks are a commercial investment, right? But I guess my problem is I'm seeing right now where especially in our current market, buyers are being a lot more creative than agents are. A lot of times we tend to be bougie to a certain degree about this is what housing is a 4-bedroom, 2.5 bath, 2-story home, brick front, side entry garage, in this neighborhood, good school district. Like I love flipping trailers, but I can go buy a trailer for 40 or 50 grand, put it on a $30,000 lot, fix it up,
That's when it's good. When it's on, when you're out there.
and sell it
Not
for
in a
$200,000 and make really good money. And someone is, like now they've got a home on a couple of acres out in God's country kind of thing. So what I'm saying is don't like you're as an investor, I don't buy a house that I like. I am not moving into a trailer. And I know that. And I'm not trying to be bougie, but Al's not living in a trailer.
Right.
I'll sell one all day long. Because there was a time in my life when I absolutely lived in a trailer. I'm not there right now, so I don't have to, and I'm not gonna. That being said, are there folks that this is a really good option for them? Right? For me, it's about can I make money on this? Not am I gonna live here? That's one thing about all these investments is you have to be looking at, yes, you're gonna find areas where you feel comfortable and you should operate in areas where you're comfortable, but that should not be the only thing you're looking at. So I love mobile homes, and mainly for that reason. Like if you go up into like Cherokee County, well, there's one mobile home guy up there. He's selling $500,000 mobile homes, and they are. But you look at it, it's not. You would not even know it's a mobile home kind of thing. They're amazing.
Some houses.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, they're huge, and they've got like roll up doors on them kind of thing. It's amazing some of the stuff. So the modular home, that kind of stuff has really changed. Now, in speaking of mobile homes, tiny homes is another one that you hear a lot of people talk about. It's harder from an investment point of view, largely because the financing changes. Most of your tiny homes are mobile homes, are modular homes. They're built on a trailer frame, and therefore they are personal property, not real property. In most cases, you have to get them affixed to the land to be real property. And without it, as long as it's personal property, you have to do a chattel loan or chattel loan, something. I'm not sure what's the right way to say it, but it's basically like getting a car loan as opposed to. And so the financing is very different. The fees are very different. The other problem is zoning. Zoning is really different on here. Now, hey, good morning. Some of the investments, now some counties, especially if you go up north, you're going to see where they have tiny home communities and the zoning is really changed and very open for being accessible for tiny homes. Especially on the downside, on the south side, single family means single family. They don't, the zoning is very different here in that they're not in love with the tiny homes the way that some of the counties up in North Georgia really are, kind of thing. But it can kind of fit in. What's that?
Douglas County doesn't allow it. There is one a mile from my house. It was for sale.
Yeah.
But it's a tiny home. The county came down and said, take it out.
The one on Highway 5?
No, Post Road.
Yeah, on Post Road, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they were like practically done with it, and they were like, no, and they had to just stop.
Yeah.
And it was like that forever.
Yeah, but see, that's the trick there. And it kind of depends on the municipality, whether or not they're going to be open to it. Because at the end of the day, a tiny home really is a trailer in most cases. Most of the time they're built on trailer frames, like car trailer frames. So I know a lot of folks are very interested in doing that, but then that means that generally speaking, you're in single family zoning with mobile home approval. And you have a hard time taking advantage of the space. Most of the time you still have like a full-size lot with a little dinky house right in the middle of it kind of thing, which kind of beats the whole purpose on a lot of cases. But if you can get it affixed to the land, then you can get traditional financing. But even finding those lenders who do tiny houses, it's a small list. I mean, we have them, but it's a small list. Apartments definitely falls in here as well, but I don't recommend that you jump in to apartments in the very beginning. A lot of the same principles that we're going to be talking about on on the buy and hold side, those same things apply on apartments. The challenge is that with apartments, you're missing out on the fact that you're running a business. You're going to have a property manager on site. You're going to have some sort of maintenance. You're going to have move in, move out procedures. The infrastructure is very, very different. You're operating a business as opposed to owning a rental. It's not something that you can generally do as a. I mean, Shani, what would you? Is it good for passive investors? No, right?
No.
No. Okay. All right. Now, let's talk about land really quick. So land, you can do some investing in land, but first of all, the time frames are really, really different. I've had some land listed for 5 years, that kind of stuff. The biggest challenge especially for most residential agents, is they don't understand how the zoning works. And what something is zoned is generally what you're going to be selling it as, or you're going to have to work with someone that wants to get it to the zoning it needs to be. The idea of potential commercial is just an idea. It's not real. So like there was a lot, and it was a 2.5 acre corner lot, and it was zoned agricultural. But it's on a pretty busy road, and they wanted to sell it to someone to buy a gas station. Well, if I bring an investor that has to put a gas station on there, he's going to come in, he's got to do full site survey, topographical. He's got to do a phase 1 environmental. He's got to get a landscape architect to lay out the whole thing. He's got to submit a set of plans. You have to go and submit all this to planning and zoning, meet with staff. By the time all that's said and done, you're normally 3 to 4 months in, and about somewhere between $30,000 and $70,000 in just investment costs. And then to think that someone's going to buy that property at commercial value and take a risk that they get to planning and zoning and can't get it zoned is not realistic.
Correct.
I went to we were getting some we had acquired several properties that we're putting together as an assemblage, and we were going to put in townhomes on it. And we go to planning and zoning, and whenever you go to planning and zoning, first you submit to planning and zoning, you meet with staff. Staff will decide whether or not they recommend that it gets approved or not. And you have to generally do this a month or 2 in advance. Then you get put on the docket. And so now you might be 3 or 4 months down the road, and now you go in front of the planning and zoning board. And so you get a chance to speak for 5 or 10 minutes, depending on the zone. And then anyone who's opposed gets up to speak on it. So we go in, talk about our project, what we're going to do, whole 9 yards. We sit down, and this sweet little lady gets up with her broom. Yeah, broom. And she walks her. Normally they have a little podium up there. She gets out of the podium, walks around, and starts sweeping all their papers off the desks, going, "You just trying to sweep us little people away. You just you just care, all you care about is money. Don't care about us at all." No one's going to stop the sweet lady with a broom. Right? So do you think I got my zoning? No, I did not do that. So then you have to wait, generally speaking, a month or 2 months, depending on the municipality, and you come back, and they let you come back again and hope that the sweet lady with the broom doesn't show up again. But at that point, you put out $50,000, $75,000, $100,000 in hopes of getting zoning changed. So now you have one option of trying to work with the seller, but like the time frames, it can take a year to work through this whole process. And then having an investor who's going to put up $100,000 for a maybe. Like they're only going to do that if the return is worth it. So the idea of I'm going to sell this zoned as residential, but because I want it zoned for multifamily, I want it priced for multifamily, it's not real. So generally speaking, unless you have someone who's really willing to invest in it, and generally speaking, it has to be the landowner who's willing to put some money up. But there's a lot of risk for the landowner at that point, because what happens if they don't actually buy it? You know, we've seen where that's happened before. The landowner goes through the entire process and gets it rezoned, and now it's zoned commercial. So what happened to their tax bill?
Went through the roof.
5X. Yeah, their taxes are vastly different, and now the buyer backed out. So I get it, but that's where the rub really does come. We find that most land ends up selling for the value of what it's currently zoned for, unless you have someone who's really willing to jump in there. So time frame is very, very different on land. I love land. I think land's a great thing, but it's not it's really hard to get any kind of regular annualized return. That makes sense?
Mhm.
Okay. All right. Let's talk about LLCs. Now, LLCs are limited liability corporations. I am not a CPA. I am not an attorney. I want that really clear. I'm not giving legal advice. I'm not giving CPA advice. However, for me personally, we keep all of our properties in an LLC. You'll find that most of your investors have some sort of investment strategy when it comes to being able to taxes as well as limiting liability. For like all our rental properties, each one has its own separate LLC. And then we have a checking and a savings account on every single LLC. We do that because whenever rent come in, it goes into that one main account. We move the taxes and those kind of things over into the savings account so we can pay that. And then we draw out of that to pay our mortgage on, or to pay our bills, or to pay ourselves out of it. That you have to make sure that you're not commingling funds. You can't take and pay your car note out of there. See, the whole idea here is, if somebody dies in one of your properties, are you going to get sued? Yes. Yeah, even if you didn't do anything wrong, if someone dies in one of your properties, I promise somebody's going to come for you to try and sue you. Even if you didn't do a single thing wrong, doesn't mean they won't try and sue you. If the LLC owns that property, what can they come after? The LLC. But if it's in my name, and they can come after my house, they can come after my business, they can come after a bunch of different things. So we like using LLCs. It makes the administrative, the paperwork side of things goofy. I'm not trying to tell you that you should go set an LLC up. I'm saying that you should look at what's the right options for you. And what you're going to find is, especially like in understanding, are you like in working with other investors? If an investor has an LLC, is that probably someone that kind of has a better idea of what they're doing, as opposed to someone who's like, can you help me set up an LLC?
Correct.
Doesn't mean that you can't work with them. It means that you need to know where you're starting from, right? So just like I'm telling you, I recommend you say the same thing to them. They need to talk to an attorney. They need to talk to their tax people, to their CPA, about what's going to be the right choice to take it. So for us, we operate heavily in LLCs, but that's the right choice for us. Now you'll also see some people do real estate trusts. We've only done limited trusts. A lot of times we see family trusts, these kind of things going on. But the one thing about the trust, like when we do a trust, real estate trust, it's been when we've done multifamily apartments, and we were just one of the players in it, that kind of stuff. But you want to make sure that you're kind of looking at that. Now, one thing in dealing with, especially in trusts and LLCs, starting March 1st, the closing process is now very, very different. FinCEN, which is the financial side of the Department of Justice, they're changing what the reporting that has to be done. There's a new real estate report that has to be done. So if you acquire a property that's in either in an LLC or a trust, and you don't use traditional financing, you'll have to fill out a whole new set of disclosures and who they are. They want to make sure that this is not being bought by a drug cartel or terrorists or whatever and funneling money out of it. So expect that the whole closing process for investors is now more expensive and more timely, and things that you never had to present before, you have to present now. So, and then all that kicks off 1st of March. Yay. All right. Any questions about that? All right. So let's talk about financing. Everybody's ready to go buy their first property, right? All right. Well,
one of the big ones out there is still savings. There's a lot of folks that just kind of dip into your savings. When you start talking about savings, though, that's when you really start thinking about the topic we started talking about at the very beginning. Like, what level of risk are you ready to take? Are you ready to invest all your savings in an investment? A lot of people are like, I don't know about all, like that kind of stuff. So savings is definitely a place. We talked about FHA for duplexes. That's definitely one option out there for a lower financing in there. On the wholesaling that we talked about, one is going to be the assignments where you're assigning your interest to another party. The challenge with assignments is you can't generally get financing on assignments. Like, you're not going to get someone who buys a home off an assignment with traditional financing. You won't be able to get the loan to go through. Now, the other thing that we are seeing is sometimes use what's called bridge financing. Bridge financing is not cheap, but it's where I need $90,000 to buy this house. I'm going to go in this room, buy this house, go through a closing. I'm going to turn around and go in this room, sell it for $105,000. And then I got to pay, a lot of times it's like $5,000 by the time it's all said and done. But, for a lot of folks, little something's better than nothing, right? Partnering with flippers, if you want to be a flipper, I think that one of the best ways to get in is to start working with existing flippers, folks who are flipping property. They are always looking for good real estate partners. The main reason is if you're going to be a flipper, what are you always looking for?
Makes sense.
You're looking for a flip. You're looking for a property. And what most, like the way that we did it for a long time, the way a lot of people does is, if you find me a property, I'll buy it through you. You need to say, I want you to use me to sell it too at the other end. So it should represent a couple of transactions for you, and also hopefully a chance to maybe get a buyer or two in there as well. But through that process, you can learn a lot working with the flippers, seeing who their people are, that kind of stuff. We're definitely gonna go into flipping a lot, but like that is one way to kind of like jump to the front of the line, is working with flippers who are currently investing. Some folks, if their level of risk allows it, is willing to take out a home equity line of credit on their existing property. If it's paid off, even if it's not, they can still draw that out. I'm not trying to guilt trip you if you're not willing to risk that, but like I said, remember, it's all about risk. How much risk do you willing to take? Now, you'll see the folks on the internet all the time, no money investing, right? Those are generally either they want you to go out and find seller financing, is what they really would love for you to find. I'm not going to tell you seller financing isn't there. I'm going to say seller financing is rare, right? And most of this time when they sell no money investing, they're selling the process for learning how to go find sellers that are willing to finance their own property. I get it, but that's, to me, is at the end of the day, there's really nothing magical about it. Go out and find a seller who's willing to finance the property. And at that point, you're using their money. And a lot of times these no money investing people, they may come in and front the repair costs, that kind of stuff. But generally speaking, it really comes down to them not having to put money into the into the actual acquisition. The other one is the option to buy, the assignments. They teach a lot of those. One thing that we are seeing, which is on the scammy side, like I don't like going there. There's lots of things that, like I don't know if you've heard about BB or VT Realty. They were going out and putting 40-year liens, 50-year liens on people's properties that you had to list with them. They were paying homeowners $200 to $500, and when they sold their home, they had to use this real estate company, and they were fronting that money up, and then they were suing people for the closings and making $8,000, $9,000, $20,000. It was really a scam. Most of that's been shut down, but you will see a lot of people you have to be very, very careful in this space. There is a lot of scammers. There's a lot of people that want to attach things. We're seeing a lot of
subject twos.
Mhm.
The subject twos are really like most of your legit attorneys are not touching subject twos because they have a lot of hair on there. And so what they're trying to do is make themselves a party to all the transactions, and you end up having to pay them big money. So we have we have several right now that's going out, and I'm not telling you this because I want you to go do it. Please, that's not what it is. But I do want you to know what's going on out there. And so they'll come in. A lot of times, if you have a property that sits on the market more than 90 days, you start getting these subject to offers, and they're like, "We'll explain it to your sellers. We'll pay you a commission. We'll pay them." A lot of times, like $10,000 to $20,000,
Mhm.
and then the seller keeps the seller, and then we'll pay your monthly mortgage. You just keep the mortgage in your name.
Mhm.
First of all, that's mortgage fraud because it's not in their name, and it could draw the due on sale clause. The other thing is they're attaching themselves to the deed, and
Mhm.
so now to be able to get them off, now it's a real like they can foreclose on you at that point.
Correct.
The other thing they could do is what happens, in most cases, what they want to do is they want to turn around, lease your property, and they're just going to cash flow it without having any money in it. But what happens if that tenant trashes the place?
Mhm.
What happens if they don't pay?
It's still on the person, the seller.
Yep.
The owner.
So I'm not telling you that. It's just we see a lot of things going on in this space, and so please don't do that. Whatever, but do know that that stuff that's going on, that whole no money investing crowd is the same group doing some of these shady things. When you go to some of these investing clubs, they're talking about some of this shady stuff. I am not talking about any of that. We're not going to be doing anything that makes me not sleep at night or look somebody in the eye.
Correct.
So now I do like crowdfunding. Some of the real estate clubs, some of those things are very, very interesting to be able to get in. The neat thing about that is a lot of times you don't have to have a lot of money in to be able to be in and be part of what's going on. You can find several, I mean, like just Google it, and there's several entities out there. I'll give you a name of a couple here in a minute too. Burr, this is an investment strategy, and it's B and 4 R's. We'll go into that in great detail when we get to the buy and hold section. DSCR loans. These are probably, in my opinion, the best option for most of our investors. It's also a really great option for real estate people, because for most of us, yes, the negative side is you have to have 20% to put down. But that's how most of your investment properties are, is 20%. The good part for us is they don't care how much money you make, because the property itself pays, well, has to qualify. So long as rent accounts for 1.2% or 120% of the monthly mortgage, then your property will qualify for a DSCR. But debt service coverage ratio, if you want to know the fancy term, what DSCR means. There is a ton of lenders who do it out there. It is a really, really good option. We personally do DSCR loans a lot, primarily for our buy and holds. There are some limited times you can use it for flips, but that's only if it's going to be a much longer flip. You need to hold on to the property at least 6 months for it to be able to use a DSCR loan, and it has to be someone has to be able to live in it from the very beginning. Equity split is what we did early on in our career. We did equity split by accident. Well, we did. I like to self-fund. We're going to talk about hard money in just a minute, but I don't like hard money. And so what happens is once you start getting in and investing in properties, and especially if you're doing flipping, you're always buying deals. You're always on the hunt. You're always buying. You're always putting out offers. And then all of a sudden you get to go, oh, that's a great one. You get it. And here's another. You get it. And then now I'm broke. And then never fails. As soon as you're out of money, this other deal pops up. And you're like, oh, it's such a good deal. So we were like, every penny we had was wrapped up in other investments. And And so Ming and I, we were meeting some friends of ours at Outback Steakhouse of all things, and we go there, and I'm just like, I just got off the phone. I'm like, ugh. They're like, what's wrong? I'm like, I found this really great house, and I'm broke. I ain't got any money, and our friends were like, well, how much do you need? Like, you need about $150,000. Well, we got $150,000. Tell us about it. And that's when we started looking at equity split. And so the premise behind equity split is we're going to buy a house. So like let's say that you have $150,000. Let's say 200,000. We're going to make the math easy. $200,000, right? You and I are going to go into business together here. We're going to team up. I'm going to find the property. When I find the property, we're going to buy it in your name.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll set up an LLC, but the property is going to be in your name, so your investment is backed by real estate. You're also going to pay all the bills. You're going to pay the contractor out of that. You're going to turn the utilities on. That's your job. I'm going to manage the flip. I'm going to decide what needs to get repaired. I'm going to manage the contractors, schedule the contractors, approve what they do. You're going to cut the checks. When it's all said and done, we sell the property and we split everything 50-50.
It's like a marriage.
Okay.
It is kind of like a marriage.
Exactly.
Now,
I spend all the money, you just do all the other stuff.
see, that works good.
It's like a marriage.
Now, a lot of times folks just say, well, why would an investor do that? Why would they spend all that money and give you half of it? Well, let me explain the numbers, how it works. So I'm going to teach you how we buy property on the 70-30 rule, right? So when we buy properties, we go into it knowing that we're looking at a 30% market. Now, we actually end up being right at around 26% is where most of our flips end up, in that 25-26% range. I can normally turn a property 3 times a year. So like every 4 months. I want to turn a property every 3 months, but for me, it really is for every 4 months, and I'll explain more about that. So like right now, you could go out and put your $200,000 in the stock market. How much are you going to make this year? Well, no, you're gonna make, I mean, like
I don't know.
7-8%, maybe 10%.
Yeah,
I mean,
maybe.
all right.
Depending on the risk you want to take.
Well, that's true. That's true. But we take that money and we go out and we find a property, and we take your $200,000 and we flip it once. It's a 26% return. I take 13%. You take 13%. We take that same money and we do it again. And we take that same money and do it again. Now you're at a 40% return. So out of that $200,000 you started the year with, you've got $290,000,
Yeah.
$285,000. Where are you going to make $85,000 this year on $200,000?
Okay.
I mean, like that's where that's how we started with equity split, and that's where it ended up working. And then a lot of folks will say, I don't know why anyone would do that. I couldn't. I had for years I've had to turn people down because I don't have time to deal with that kind of thing. The only person who really has risk is you. As weird as that sounds, meaning I don't own the property. It's all in their name. They're paying everybody. Could they cut me out of the deal? Yeah, but guess what? You'll never get a property from me again. A lot of folks will look at it. So for me, that was a very nice way to kind of do that. I only did business with folks that I trusted, liked,
Well,
that kind of stuff. It just, for us, it worked out really well. It helped us to get other properties when we were out of money on things like that. We would do it. Every once in a while, I'll still do something like that if I got a lot of projects going or something happening like that. So, because right now what we do is we flip and then we try and buy a rental. Is what we try and do. So everyone wants to be sitting on cash. It's not a good place to be.
Correct.
Does that make sense, or is it confusing? Because a lot of times people are like, "That sounds too good to be true," kind of thing. Does it make sense?
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. All right. One other thing that you'll see out there are private lenders, angel investors, family, friends. I know a lot of investors that got their entire start because of a generous uncle. Someone like that. These folks tend to work off a handshake and because they love you, but they aren't like hard money in that they a lot of times it's someone that someone that you have a relationship with. There are some private money, but most private money is going to fall into the hard money lending side of things. Has anybody done hard money yet? Anyone interested in hard money? A lot of times everybody seems to be interested in hard money. But let's talk. So hard money is where the property is the basis for the investment out there, right? It's going to be used on non-owner occupied properties. Primarily, it's going to be used on flips, some commercial things like that. They do not use traditional financing the way that a bank would. Yeah, you're going to have a credit score that has to be decent, but it doesn't have to be amazing, that kind of stuff on there. You are going to pay through the nose, though. Generally speaking, first time hard money people are paying 11 to 15%. That's not the only fee. A lot of times, but 11, 15%, and that's going to be on average on a 6-month term, which means if you go more than 6 months, it's another 11 to 15%. The risks are you want to make sure you're doing business with a legit company. You want to avoid hard money people that's just some old dude in a truck. That is, well, I'm being real serious. There's a lot of hard money folks out there that want to watch you fail because hard money, they don't pay for everything. You have to have money in like on average, you're going to have 20% to be able to put down on hard money. Rarely will they fund the whole thing unless you have a proven track record. So you're going to have some money to put into the game on hard money out here.
Sounds harsh, hard money.
Well, it is, but I mean, I didn't name it. It's just
hard money loan. It's not like a payday loan with a 365% interest rate.
Well, it kind of is because I mean, like you have normally a loan origination fee. Sometimes it's a flat $1,000. Sometimes it's 1 to 3%, right? Then you've got application fee, loan underwriting fee, document fee, a fee for this. Sometimes they have internet fees, which I don't know why that applies. Processing fee, funding fee. Every time you have to do a draw, there's another $200 to $400 draw fee every time. They will fee you to death. Dang. On top of this whole thing, and all that's on top of the 11 to 15%. So it's really, really expensive. Even doing an equity split, I normally come out better than doing hard money.
But look at what it's asking: 600 to 620.
Yeah.
I mean, you might as well just do like
a DSCR loan.
Yeah.
Well, but the property has to be owner occupied. Like for a DSCR loan, somebody has to be able to move in right now.
Correct.
So that's one trick in here, kind of thing. But it's really common for a hard money to have $3,000 to $5,000 up front on top of, I mean, in fees, either on top of your actual interest rate, that kind of stuff. The more experienced you are, the better your fees will be out there, kind of stuff. They tend to punish the new guy pretty harsh on here. I don't endorse any. But the ones that I have used, and I have used hard money. I will only use hard money when there's no other option for me. If everything else is exhausted, I don't want to miss a deal. I'd rather have part of something, but it burns every time I do. So I've used Paces Funding, Ground Floor, and Easy Street. Ground Floor is also a crowdfunding site. Now, one thing I do like about Ground Floor is that you can go in and invest as little as $100 and see other people flipping and be able to choose which investments that you invest in. It can be a good place to kind of go in and look and things like that. Again, I'm not endorsing hard money. I will normally do anything not to get in bed with hard money, but only deal with legit companies. Don't do some dude hard money now. One trick about your hard money folks: the more they're in your business, the more legit they are. real hard money people are going to be involved in making sure that the investment is sound. You're going to have to show them the deal, go through a scope of work, what you're going to do, where you're going to spend the money, what are your comps. They're going to vet the whole thing, especially for new investors. That's really good experience. Now, if you have a hard money guy who says, here's your money, let me know how it works out, he's just waiting on you to fail so they can just take the property from you and anything that you've done to it. So the better the hard money company is, the more they're going to be in your business, the more you're going to have to share information with them, the more involved they're going to be through the whole process. It seems like you want most investors, like, I want them to leave me alone. You really don't, because they're going to help you do a better job. Good hard money people, like, I know a lot of flippers that constantly use them, and they've worked their fees down over time. They aren't getting fee quite as much. So they're able to use their money and it's not costing them as much. But when you first start off, it will definitely be painful. That makes sense? Sorry if you guys already can tell, like, I'm going to show you my bias. I don't love hard money, but but that doesn't mean that it's not out there or not an option that you couldn't explore. That makes
Right, but
sense?
this is for an investor. They may come to us with this stuff.
I mean, a lot of times investors, I even hear from a lot of real estate, I'm just going to use hard money. I'm just going to use hard money. I'm like, do you know what you're doing? Because I mean, a lot of times hard money can just eat up all your profits. I've seen where the only people who make a deal or make any money on a deal is the hard money people. Everyone, I mean, like, the investor goes in, does that, takes all the risk, and the only person who's walking out at payday is the hard money people, kind of thing. So, y'all with me? Any questions so far?
Or anything, is there a such thing as soft money?
Well, that's the friends, family, angel investors, that kind of stuff. That's really soft, if you got family members and your money. But no, I'm not even real sure what soft money means, but or the same way I don't know what hard money means or where the term comes from. So
Interesting.
yeah,
Sounds hard.
it sounds harsh money. Yeah, there we go. Well, it is. I mean, it's kind of like loan sharks, but it's like legal loan sharks a little bit. Yeah.
You know, pulling up, shooting your ankles off, you don't give my money back.
Yeah.
It sounds hard.
All right, let's talk about sourcing properties. Okay.
Hold on. Okay.
I'm going to show some personality. I can't help it. So let's talk about sourcing property. So off market, I know that you guys are probably hearing it too. You get calls from investors like, I'm looking for off market deals. I'm looking for off market deals. I'm what you got off market, right?
Every day.
They all think it's like there's this magic inventory off market, right? Well, let me ask you first, why would you sell a property off market?
I asked somebody that the other day. They called me asking for help about an off-market property. I'm like, what is an off-market property? What does that mean? Tell me what your definition of it was. That's what I asked the person. But why would you do that?
Well, the whole idea with off-market properties is they want people that don't know what their home is worth. They're trying to capitalize on something that's not hit the market yet. Because if it does go on the market, what does the market do? The market's going to adjust that price accordingly, right? Like if you go in and you put a property on that's way undervalued, how many offers is it going to get?
Multiple.
And then what's that going to do to the price? It's going to drive it up, right? And so they're looking for those off-market deals. Now, the challenge is if something's off-market, there's normally a reason. And you need to do your spidey sense. I'm not saying I won't do an off-market deal by any means, but off-market deals are hard to find. There aren't that many of them. And most of the time, there's a reason why it's off-market. It doesn't have clear title. It has mold in the basement. There's water damage somewhere. There was a fire. It doesn't have a CO. There's a billion things that could be. Whenever you see an off-market property, it can potentially be a property, but you got to figure out, why is it being done off-market? Why is somebody not doing it? This is the same thing that a lot of our wholesalers, that's the reason the wholesalers are always looking for off-market properties. This hasn't been marketed yet. I can come in, hopefully undercut them, and then turn around and sell it at a fair market price, right? So that's why they're all looking for it. Now, the real kicker here is, if you're gonna look for off-market properties, please do it for you. Do not do this for investors. Do not do this for a third party. You do this if you are trying to be the one that acquires the properties for you to use, right? Now, you can try direct mail, postcards, yellow letters, those big yellow letters we see, the signs on the side of the interstate, Craigslist. You can do vacant houses and driving for dollars. Like with that, you use Forewarn. In the tax records, you find a vacant house, you look up their name and address in Forewarn. The tax records, and use Forewarn to search them and give them calls, things like that. For sale by owners is definitely another option out there. Pre-foreclosures, probates. But if you're going through all this to turn around and to sell it for 3% is ridiculous, because that is a lot of work. There is a ton of work. This is what the investor, this is what the flippers are out there doing, because that's how they're trying to find the same properties. Does that make sense? Now, if you were trying to do that, please only do it for you. Do not do this for another investor. Unless if you really want to, do it for me. I'll buy properties like that all day long, but they're really hard to find, and it's a lot of work. Y'all with me? REOs. Now, we don't have quite as many as we've had in the past. The big reason, and everyone keeps talking about this big REO. There's always, bank homes are coming. Foreclosure crisis is coming. Y'all think that that's coming?
No.
I only have one. I have a house that's going through foreclosure.
Yeah.
That's just negligence of the.
Well, that's what we see, right? Because if you look at how much has property values risen in the last 5 years or 6 years in Georgia?
50%.
60% last 6 years, 10% a year is what now this year, we're only 1.5%, 2% this year. But for the last 5, 6 years, it's been over 50%. I don't know anybody who's upside down on properties. And so if you're not upside down, why would you? And so what we see is people shove their head in the sand. They don't deal with it. They don't deal with their lending company. They don't deal with the mortgage. They just choose not to do with it. So there's always going to be some of those. We're seeing that for most of the case, one of the best options for real estate professionals in here is to help people capture the equity they have before they actually lose their house. It's not going to be a great situation, but yes, we can sell now and you can take your $50,000, or it can get taken away from you and you get nothing. So there is an option out there to kind of do that. But in generally speaking, searching in the MLS for REO properties is tough, because most of the REO companies instruct the agents not to list it as an REO. And I'll show you where to search for those though. All right, short sales. And we are seeing a lot more short sales right now. I've got a short sale under contract at the moment. Now, short sales break out into 2 categories: approved and unapproved. Unapproved, that's a seller that wants to do a short sale and hasn't got approval from the bank yet. Most of the time, you'll see most of the short sales are unapproved, and there's 2 reasons. One is some banks require that you have an offer before they will approve the short sale. On other ones, they'll in either case, the homeowner is going to have to prove need, right? So if they have other assets that can be gone after, they won't let them do a short sale. If the short sale is approved, then the homeowner has to be willing to go through the whole process. Generally speaking, it lets the homeowner stay in the home for a little bit longer, but they're not going to make anything on it. Timelines are crazy. You're not going to schedule any kind of realistic closing on a short sale. If you can get it within a month or 2, it's normally good, because on every one of these, the homeowner has to agree, and then it has to get approved by the bank. And then you have to get everything set up and scheduled through the whole process. Now, these sellers don't have any money. They're not going to make any repairs. They're not going to do any kind of adjustments. A lot of times you have things like old HOA bills, sometimes water bills. The house can't close unless those get satisfied. So are you, as the buyer, gonna pay those so you can buy the house? because the seller doesn't have it, ain't gonna do it. So, they also may not necessarily be eager to leave. You don't want to end up getting into a tenancy if you don't have to, kind of thing. The condition that it's in is the condition that it'll be in.
Yeah. I have
In here.
the one I was just saying, the homeowner was negligent. They were at a foreclosure spot, and I listed it. We got an offer. So it's under contract right now, but it's a short sale. And the buyer, the buyer is the agent's sister. So that's a good thing because at least he's explaining to her what this is gonna look like. Positive thing is the property was built 2 years ago, 3 years ago.
So the buyer is the agent's sister? I mean, is the,
Is the buyer's agent's sister, so I'm representing the seller.
okay, I thought.
And so
Now,
the
now,
buyer,
like the seller can't be related to anyone buying
no,
it.
they're
Okay.
not. But they were going, it's taking longer because there's an attorney involved with this one. When I got it, the attorney was already involved.
Yeah.
And, the seller was gonna take a deed in lieu of foreclosure.
Mhm.
And now since there's an offer, now they have to stop that process and start it back over. Now I got to go back and get approved
Approved.
again. So, and then it's a tedious process. Everything has to be wet signed and,
Well, and no,
Lord.
you have to have permission to actually deal with the bank.
yes.
Like you have to go and like they have to give you written permission before the bank will even deal with you. And then the whole process, like the short sale, we're hoping to close next month and it's taken us 3 months.
Yeah,
So-
but it started because they started going through foreclosure, but they
Yeah.
were just negligent. They didn't have to be negligent. They're still building in their community, so the equity is there.
Yeah.
This is crazy.
It is crazy. So I'm with it. Like, buying them is a trick too, right? Because, like me as an investor, if I'm buying short sales, I've got to have that money set aside. Maybe now, maybe 2 weeks from now, maybe 2 months from now. It's hard to be like, oh, let me pull $200,000 out of my pocket real fast, right? So the timing is a tough thing. You're also dealing with people that are hurting too.
Yeah.
Like no one's ever like, man, things are great. Let's do a short sale, right? There's a reason for stuff going on. So I understand how that's working. Online and auctions. So this is a list of online auction houses. I have a love-hate relationship with the auctions. I buy houses at the auctions some, but the auctions are all a little bit shady. Now you have basically 3 types of auctions. So you have, most of the time you're gonna have a minimum bid. A minimum bid means it has to start at this point. Sometimes it will also be a reserve auction. And a reserve auction is a minimum bid. They just don't tell you what the minimum bid is, right? There's a reserve and it's either been met or it's not, and it's never been met. And then you have an absolute auction. What we see is an absolute auction is a property that has been auctioned off at least 3 times previously unsuccessfully. So they've already tried to do it several times and it didn't succeed. I see a lot of straw buyers in here. Like a lot of your auction houses, I'll see, like we had one property, I bid on it 3 times, got right down to the end and got outbid at the last minute. And then amazingly, it came up next month. I bid again, got outbid at the last minute. And then it came back again. And like, I wonder who this miraculous bidder is that's outbidding me in the last 5 minutes kind of thing. So can I say that that's for sure what's going on? No, but it just seems shady kind of thing. But there's a bunch of them where you can kind of go in and do it. Now, one challenge in here on dealing with these is like you're going to have this thing called a buyer's premium, and then they have fees, and then those fees have fees too on their kind of stuff. A lot of times you have a buyer's premium that will be between 5 and 10%. So make sure you add an extra 5 to 10% on top of it. And then you've got an auction service fee, a financing fee, a technology fee. Earnest money is going to be in a credit card that you will not get back unless you close on the property kind of thing. And then the fees have fees and internet fees, and it just drives me up the
Sounds like a
wall.
hard money
So,
situation.
it's a little bit, that kind of stuff. If you win it, you're probably going to win it for real. All right. or you probably need to go through with it because they're gonna take all your earnest money. You're not gonna get anything back. You do want to make sure that you also like check the title, those kind of things. Networking. I enjoy networking and I like networking a lot. Anytime that you can be part of haves and wants, you'll see there's all sorts of groups. Have you done a haves and wants? Anybody ever gone to a haves and wants? Just a bunch of people in a room. A lot of times you'll be in the back of the Sizzler or something kind of thing. And I'm looking for this type of property. I got these I'd love to sell, that kind of stuff. That can be a really good place for us to hang out because we can find deals going on that. Your investor clubs, meetup, mashups, talking with the other agents in your office, in your brokerage can be a great place for finding really good properties. Watch if you go to like, I like going to like all the RIAs, the real estate investor groups. On all of them, they have a guru at every meeting who's going to be telling you how to print money if you'll just sign up for this program. I don't do anything with any of those fools. I'm just, there's always someone with a hustle on that thing. If you do go to these groups, break into the small groups. What you find is, even though it may be a big meeting, all your buy and hold people are over here. Your apartment people are over here. Your storage facility people are over there. They all tend to group up together. Find the group that you are trying to be with, and then just start hanging out with those folks. It's a good way to kind of meet people and engage on that. Anybody gone to the courthouse steps?
I have with my ex.
Oh, the courthouse steps is so much damn fun. It's hard to get anything done, but it is a blast. Like you go to the courthouse steps and like, last time I was there was a dude who looked like a cowboy, and he was right next to a rapper. And then over here with this little sweet little old lady, and then standing around him, all these attorneys with their big square briefcases holding papers. And they're just kind of like wailing back and forth, like they're wailing wall in Jerusalem kind of thing. And they're all calling out properties. And then you got auction.com over here in the corner doing properties over here. You got the sheriff's sale going over here. Then you got all this stuff happening at the same time. And nothing has an address. It's all parcel number. And you're looking for 123 Smith Street, but they're like parcel BR 549, whatever kind of thing. And it's all going on at the exact same time.
And they all carry cash.
Well, you have to carry cash because that's the thing. So like you may get a list at the beginning of the month, and it may have for that county, and it's always first Tuesday. And so you have to show up with cash. So we would have cashier's checks for 50, 75, 10,000, all the way down kind of thing, because you have to overpay and then they give you back the rest of it. And then, so you have to bring cash. When you buy it, you literally walk into Mabel in the window and hand her $100,000. Like, it's just such a weird way to buy a house, right? Like, here's your 100,000, Mabel, like, and a lot of times it's a handwritten receipt. She'll get the paperwork later. Like, I think I bought a house, right? But there's the challenge here. So eventually you're going to buy a dog. If you buy at the courthouse steps very long, you can't do inspections. All you can do is drive by. And we bought homes and walked in the door and it looked amazing. And then we bought homes and you walk in and there's no toilets or cabinets or countertops. One, they punched a hole in all the windows and all the sheetrock in there. That wasn't us, thankfully. But you just don't know what you're getting on there. Sometimes they're still living there, even though you bought the home. And now you got to deal with evictions, and now you got to deal with cash for keys, that kind of stuff. The other challenge for us is, let's say there's a list of 100 properties that you want to see. That's 100 properties that you have to go do CMAs on. It's 100 properties that you have to go and do title searches on to make sure there's no additional liens and encumbrances on. And then you have to go and drive by 100 properties, and you gotta go decide, like, just from looking at it, what do I think repairs are going to be? How much money can I make? What's the most I can? You got to prepare an offer. And then when you actually get to the courthouse step, now it's only 40 properties, because a lot of them, the banks are using this to just beat the homeowner into acting right? Because as long as they get current, the bank pulls it back off the auction. And so now you did all that work and nothing. It's tough when you go research 100 properties. It can take you a week or more to do it, and then you get to the auction and don't buy a single thing. And doing it for another investor, that's a lot of work, and there is no fees associated in here at all. So it can be a lot of fun. I think everyone should go and just kind of watch it at least once kind of thing and be part of it. But it's hard to be successful. It's not a place for an investor who wants one property, because if that one property is a dog, then it's really hard to recover from that. You see the people who go again and again and again. Make sense? All right. You may also come across buying paper and property tax liens. Now, I'm not a property tax lien guy. That's a completely separate piece of investing. I know lots of people that do it. There is, you hear about the amazing deals that come across. I also know about all the people that don't know what they're doing. Like we had a friend of ours, he bought 4 lots over off Lake Dow over in McDonough. And come to find out, he bought those lots only $5,000 a piece, $20,000. Steal. Yeah. Can't build on them. Non-buildable lots.
Yeah.
The reason they got turned over to the tax is the last owner said, I can't do anything with it. Y'all have it. Now here he went. Now he spent $20,000. What can he do? Put up a tent. That's all he can do. He can go out there and he can like completely non-buildable lots. So sometimes you see some of this space, like sometimes it's weird shaped lots, and most of the time, if a property has a mortgage, it's not going to go here. So it has to be a property that doesn't have a mortgage. You have to then get it. If you buy the tax, if you buy the tax lien, you have to hold on to it for a year. They can have a year to buy it back from you at a 20% margin. If they don't buy it back, then at that point there's another process that you can go through in order to claim it. But I know a lot more people that have bought garbage than people that have walked away with really great deals. I'm not the expert there, and I'm not trying to do it. Has anybody done
They
those?
do have classes now for property tax lien.
Yeah.
I went to one, and then they said, it doesn't cost you anything until at the end of the
Anytime
class.
somebody's telling me it didn't cost me anything,
At the end of the class, they
I'm always-
said, $2,000. Like, what?
Yeah.
So that's what you had to pay?
Yeah. They'll teach you how to do it.
yeah.
But at the end, you gotta pay at the end.
Yes.
I'm
Right there and
glad you
then.
gave that disclosure up front. Like, this is not a class, you don't have to buy nothing.
Yeah.
That's why you gave that disclosure,
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah. We ain't got the bill yet.
Sure.
Now, buying notes. You can buy mortgages. They don't come across real long. You can Google and find it. And that's where you're not actually buying a property. You're buying the mortgage on the property. Most of the time, these are going to be non-performing notes and non-performing mortgages. The whole premise with buying notes is that the idea is to, like you find a mortgage for $100,000 that you can buy for 50, and you want to get the homeowner to where they're going to go current with it. Now, then you can make $100,000 on your $50,000 investment, that kind of stuff. You can foreclose on it in certain but there's a process and a time frame and all that. You'll come across both of those. I'm not a huge fan on either one, but you'll see them out there. Now, in our MLS, this is where I find the majority of my properties are still inside the MLS. I like searching in every single MLS. And I, in particular, search MLSs that are not the go-to. So like I find sometimes amazing deals in FMLS here. I will find, the condo that we bought was only listed in Georgia MLS. It's in Atlantic Station. Like everyone in that area is using FMLS to search for properties. We had an agent that just bought. I didn't even know that they had condos in Peachtree City. But those condos in Peachtree City was only listed in FMLS. Wasn't even listed in Georgia MLS. So how many people in Peachtree City actually saw? Like the sellers were so happy because they didn't have any showings going on. So I like to use MLSs that are in less obscure areas where agents have not done a good job of marketing. Sometimes you can find a good deal on that. You're definitely looking for price. That's always going to be one of the big indicators. But the biggest thing is you're looking for spread, right? Knowing your areas, knowing your markets. Like you go and you know this neighborhood rents 300. Here's a house for 200. You know something's up, but there's enough margin there to at least make it worthwhile to look at. You can also go in and search for as is, fixer upper, needs work, TLC, project home, handyman specials, all these kind of things. These are all keywords that you can use to search inside the MLS. A lot of our bank-owned properties, these kind of things, they aren't sharing that. They're not saying they're bank-owned. They're not saying that kind of stuff. So you can see those in here, but most of the time it's going to be in the comments. You know, the old roll up your sleeves. You know that's going to need some work, right? Y'all with me?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, one thing that you may also see is property with tenants. Gotta be a little bit careful with property with tenants, because if you buy a property with a tenant, you have obligations now,
Yes.
right? So, like, what if you buy a property that has a tenant in it and the HVAC doesn't work?
You gotta fix it.
You gotta fix the HVAC, right? Like that kind of stuff. It has to be habitable, all that kind of thing. So you have certain obligations as a landlord in that case. Your tenants have tenant rights. We cannot just bypass that. There is a large group of investors that try and take advantage of renters and tenants. I am not one. I think it's a crappy way to be. And they eventually all get busted out. So don't play games and don't take advantage of tenants. I know a lot of investors try and buy properties and then try and kick the tenants out and try and stiff arm them into things. We had an acquaintance that did that. They acquired a property and they basically bullied the tenant out. And then the tenants on their way out the door poured Quikrete down all the drains and the toilets and the showers. So good job. You won. Then they had to jackhammer all the floors and the whole place kind of thing. Now, can you change a lease? Maybe.
It depends.
If it's written in the lease that you can. But generally speaking, the lease that you have is the one that you're going to be obligated to.
Correct.
Now, the only time that we see that changes, we have seen where someone's losing a property. And so like there was one where this guy was leasing his property to his sister. He turned around and he gave her a 10-year lease at $100 a month. That was fraud, clearly. So like we were able to get that one taken back kind of thing. But generally speaking, the lease that's there, that's going to be the lease that you have to, that you're going to be. For us, if we end up with a property that has tenants or is occupied even by the former owner, we work in cash for keys. Cash for keys is the best way to go. That's how you're going to get the property back in the best condition. So you go meet with the current occupant. They're never going to be super happy to see you, but you got to kind of just go there. Please don't go alone. It's never a great place to show up at somebody's house all by yourself. So go with a partner or two kind of thing. Not that you need to have like a police escort, but it's just better before you walk in. I don't like to walk into a house alone and sit down and say, hey, I need you to leave. But what you're trying to do is you want to be able to give them a chance to start over somewhere fresh. All I want is the house back. If you can be out of here in the next 2 to 3 weeks, I'll be as soon as this place is, as soon as you've left, I'll come back and I'll give you a check for $4,000. I'll give you a check for $5,000, $6,000, whatever it may be. But that to me is part of my acquisition cost. And then they get a chance to start off somewhere new. All I want to do is go through and see the condition of the home. I want the home in the same condition that it's in today. When I come back and give you a check, I need everything out. I need it broom swept clean. And then I'll give you a check for $2,000, $5,000, $10,000, whatever it may be, depending on the price of the property. But that becomes part of my acquisition cost. If I'm buying a home that has tenants in it or has the former owner in it, that's the best way to kind of give them a chance to kind of have some sort of a win. Otherwise, dealing with eviction is expensive, painful, and all in all, really unpleasant. It's going to cost you through the nose. If you think cash for keys is expensive, try doing an eviction. Some counties, you have to have a moving crew with at least 4 people, a truck big enough to hold it. You got to have to pay the sheriff to stand there through the whole process. and you're gonna have a locksmith to open the door.
Correct.
And so, by the time you've done all that, you would have been way better off to do cash for keys than by the time you go through that. Plus, having to go through all the time frame of the court. There are some tenants that know how to work the game. Most of the time, these are not tenants that you selected, so you're kind of getting a lot of times the disgruntled tenants from other people, that kind of stuff. So,
And if the owner has done that, the old owner has done that tenant wrong, and if you have to go through the eviction process, and when the judge hears that tenant, the judge is gonna side with that tenant.
Always,
always.
Yeah, Georgia is for the tenant,
yes.
so don't play.
Well, but there's really, honestly, I don't feel like there's a need for
Correct.
that. You know, like I love my tenants, and I'm very appreciative of them. I know that, you know, home ownership is a very good place to be. That's where wealth for so many of us comes from in the US, is from home ownership. And, you know, I hope that they can be homeowners too at some point, but I'm definitely like, I don't want to take advantage of the folks that we have. So, all right, any questions about tenants, acquiring properties, any other ideas? Anything else you guys are seeing on out there? Those are the ones that I do, right? Those are the things that I'm looking at. All right. Are you ready?
Almost. I
Almost.
forgot my salad phone, so I couldn't get them out of my car.
Okay. We may have that for you. We got lunch. So, all right. I'm just going to jump in and start on, I want to talk about investment strategies while they finish up here. So I want to talk about what you need to do to be able to break down and analyze investments. So we're going to be starting off on with buy and holds. Now, you aren't going to use just one type of investment strategy. You're going to use a lot of different tools at your disposal. I want to teach you how I analyze an investment, but in order to do that, there's some numbers that you got to know. But I want to start off with, what is your target return on investment? And I want to talk about why this is such a very important number to have. Like, a lot of times investors will say, oh, no, I want to do good. How can I achieve that goal? You have to have a target return on investment. All a target return on investment is how much money, how much work do you want your money to do? If you had $100,000 at the end of the year, how much would you want to make? Well, if I want to make 10,000 off 100, you want a 10% return, right?
Yeah.
If you're okay with $7,000, then you're going to make a 7% return. If you want to make $15,000, it's a 15% return, right? What do you want for that? I see a lot of folks that are in the 5 to 7%. Those tend to be very low risk. So low risk, low returns, right? But like, you know, you can go do all sorts of investments in that 5 to 7% range, right? You can do, you know, like a lot of your T-bills, that kind of stuff can be in there. Some will be a little bit up and down. The historical average on stocks is about 7%. It's been better for the last few years, but that's kind of traditional. 4 to 6 on bonds. Gold's all over the place. It's been really good of late, that kind of stuff, but you know, it tends to run in the 5 to 7% range. And on real estate, tends to run about 10%. I see 10% being a number that a lot of investors talk about. They want a 10% return. Some want more, and that's okay. But if you have an investor who can't give you what kind of return that they want, how can you find them a property? How can you know which way to go if there's nothing? Like you have to have a target return. That's how we decide on if a deal is good. If I don't know what kind of return I want to get, then how can I decide, yes, I should do this? But you'll see that new investors won't give you a number, won't want to give you a number, won't have a number in mind. Well, without that, you're wasting your time because you can't give them anything to move forward on. If you say, I don't know what I want to make, then any deal I give you is not going to be good enough. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
So This is a very important step for you as an investor, for working with investors, is understanding that you have to have a target return. Like if you want to, if you want those 20% returns, what kind of properties are we going to be dealing with? High risk. Yeah. So
Cs.
yeah. Well, are you ready for the headache that goes with that, right? Maybe you are, and that's okay. I know a lot of investors that really enjoy working in that space. They tend to be a little more the hustlers, but like they enjoy working in that space. That's not my normal cup of tea, but it is for them. All right, you also got to make sure that you know like the overall language of investing. I know what a 1031 exchange is. That's just where we're deferring capital gains. ARMs is just like mortgages, debt to equity, DTI. PITI is just a mortgage, principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. Fair market value, that's one that you're going to be working on, especially on the flips, because we always start with what the fair market value is once it's actually repaired on. Gross rental income. We're going to break down all of our investments here in just a minute, and I'll be explaining that a little bit more. REOs are real estate owned, and then REITs are real estate investment trust. That's really Wall Street more than anything on here. So when you analyze an investment, there is a lot of calculations that you're going to do. I'm going to confuse you, but I'm not trying to. Okay. So we're going to go through a lot of these different terminology and strategies, and I want you to understand how they work. So the first one, especially in talking on buy and holds, is GRM, gross rent multiplier. A lot of your folks that own a lot of investment properties, especially rental investments, know what their gross rent multiplier is. It is a quick and easy, down and dirty way to be able to analyze an investment. All it is total price divided by total annual rent. Now, so if I have a house for $144,000 and it gets me $12,000 a year, it has a gross rent multiplier of 12. I have another property, $300,000, $15,000 in annual rent, that has a gross rent multiplier of 20. The lower the number, the higher return. But what you find is that investors end up, like for me, I don't want a really low, I have a threshold where I want to be. But if I get a really low gross rent multiplier, is that property probably going to be for me?
No.
Because that's going to be more headache than I want to deal with. But that's what I mean. See, everybody says, oh, the lower the better, the lower the better. Not necessarily. What you see is that investors end up operating in certain gross rent multiplier ranges where they're very comfortable being. For those folks that are looking for the highest returns, they're going to want really low, much lower gross rent multiplier, right? For the folks like me that don't like that, it's not that one is better or different, better than the other, because it depends on what the goal of the investor is.
I'm ready.
Please,
for it.
if you want to jump up and get some more or get some, please do so. It will not, I'll not be offended or anything like that. So, all right, we just talked about the gross rent multiplier. Now we're going to talk about the 1% rule on investment properties. The 1% rule works until you get to too high of a monthly rental price or sale price. The 1% rule is really easy. So long as the gross rent is equal to 1% of the total purchase price. So if I have a house that I buy for $190,000, it needs to rent for at least $1,900. And then if I hit that 1% rule, it will always cash flow. Now, once you start getting into $300,000, $400,000 homes, they're probably not going to rent for $3,000 or $4,000 a month.
Sure.
So it doesn't mean that it's not necessarily going to be a good investment, but it means it probably won't cash flow. That make sense? All right. Now, I want to talk about NOI, net operating income. In the investment world, you see everybody in the world talks about cap rate, but no one knows what cap rate is. You need to know NOI, net operating income. If you don't take anything else from this class, please take that net operating income is the number that you need to be able to move forward. Everything else works off of net operating income. Don't be intimidated by it. It's not that hard of a concept to get your head around. And you can calculate net operating income on just about any property very, very easily. So let's talk about what NOI is, net operating income. is property taxes, insurance, maintenance and repairs. If you have property manager, those property manager fees, janitorial cleaning, landscaping, and vacancy. What it isn't, it's not your mortgage payment. So there is no mortgage included in net operating income. There's no CapEx, capital expenditures. It also doesn't have depreciation or income taxes in there. So all you do is you take your gross rent less your operating expenses. So if I have gross rent of $2,150, taxes $300 a month, insurance $250, repairs $150, property management $150, vacancy $100, that gives me a total of $950. $2,150 less $950 means that I have $1,200 a month in net operating income. Does that make sense? Everybody with me? It may seem like these are minuscule numbers to be looking at, but if you want to be able to truly break down a buy and hold investment, then you have to know NOI. And there's nothing special to knowing NOI. There's no magic, like that. That's your entire formula right there. And it's going to come into play in just a minute, but I want you to understand how it works and where to get net operating income. You guys with me?
Yep.
All right. Now, cap rate is something that you'll hear so many investors talk about. Cap rate, cap rate, cap rate. Most of them have no idea what it means. Most of them don't know how to judge it, don't know what a good cap rate is from a bad cap rate. So all that is your annual net operating income divided by your total purchase price. It doesn't include financing, and it doesn't include any of the future gains on this property. It's for this property right now. So if I have a property that has $10,000 in net operating income on an annual basis, divide that by a purchase price of $100,000, then that's a 10 cap or a 10% cap rate. If I have $5,000 in net operating income, divide that by 100,000, now that's a 5 cap or a 5%. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
You can't calculate cap rate without net operating income. So many of the numbers that we need in analyzing an investment only happen because we have net operating income. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Okay, that's why net operating income is so important. Now, you may also see this term called cash on cash, or cash on returns is another one. And that's all you do is you take your yearly cash flow divided by what your down payment is, by how much you have invested in the property. So if it generates $400 a month, that's $48,000 a year. For a down payment of $50,000, that means I'm getting a 9.6 return cash on cash. It means I'm getting almost 10% of my cash back every year that I've invested in this property.
All right.
Everybody with me? All right. So having these numbers in place, and feel free to scratch on it, write on it, use your books, that kind of stuff. There's 4 ways that an investment property, a rental property, makes money. Cash flow, appreciation, depreciation, amortization. And I know those are all big numbers. We're going to break them, big words. We're going to break them down. So now the first one is going to be cash flow. So in order to calculate cash flow, all I do is take my net operating income, which you'll remember the formula for net NOI, right? That's my monthly rent less all those expenses. So I take my net operating income less my mortgage. What's left over? That's cash flow. So on that example where we had $1,200 a month in net operating income, I have a mortgage of $1,000. So that means I have $200 a month in annual cash flow. That make sense?
Yes.
Would you guys buy an investment property to make $200 a month?
Maybe.
See, but I see your face, and I totally get it. A lot of people look at an investment only from cash flow. They only think, okay, this is just cash flow. All this is cash flow. And I'm not saying cash flow is wrong, but different investors have different goals. Different properties, some properties will have much higher cash flow. Some will have other areas. You should not stop at cash flow is all I'm saying. I'm not saying cash flow is not important. I want cash flow on my properties. But, it depends on what your goals are. But you're only looking at a quarter of the strategy, right? So yes, cash flow is important. That's how we're gonna figure it out. Now, the other way is appreciation. Now, we said that, for the last 5 years, it's been 10% a year. Is that normal?
No,
No. What's normal?
1 point.
4.4% is the average. If you like real estate for the last 50, 60 years, it appreciates at 4.5% a year. I don't normally like to put down 4.5%. I normally go half of that. I just find it's a very modest way to be. Now, one thing that I do find personally, most of my investment properties, because we tend to buy starter homes and that kind of stuff in that range, we run about a 5% annual return. Return on our on appreciation. But our properties tend to grow at about 5% a year. But when I'm budgeting out, I don't want to budget that high, if that makes sense. So like, if you take a $300,000 property, I'm probably not going to budget it at 4%. I may budget at 2%, but that's still $6,000 a year. Does that make sense? I normally do half of whatever I think the actual appreciation is going to be. So I normally do 2.5, something like that. On average is where I tend to. You with me?
Mm-hmm.
So now we know how to get cash flow. We know how to get appreciation.
Correct.
Now let's talk about depreciation. And depreciation is where I'm going to scramble your brain, but I don't mean to. Okay. Let's talk about the thought process behind depreciation. Can you depreciate land? No. It's immovable. Can't burn it. Can't destroy it, right? So remember that going into it. So when it comes to figuring your depreciation is based on the value of the improvements of the building of the house. So you have to start off with what's called the cost basis. And so all the cost basis is your purchase price less the land value. So you can find, purchase price is purchase price, right? Land value, you can get it on an appraisal. You can look on tax reports to see what the land value is. Does that make sense? Not hard to do. So if I have a $300,000 house and I got $50,000 in land, what's my cost basis? $250, right? Now, residential real estate as an investment can be appreciated over 27.5 years. So I take that 250 and I divide it by 27.5. Y'all with me? That gives me $9,090. But that's $9,090 I can take off my taxes. It's not $9,090 cash. It depends on what your tax bracket is. Most of our investors are running somewhere around a 30% return or a 30% tax bracket. So if you say 30% of $9,090, that means that my actual cash value on my depreciation is $2,727 a year. Y'all with me? Yes. That makes sense. So we took what, $1,200 or $2,400 a year from cash flow. We took another $6,000 from appreciation. Now we got $2,727 from depreciation, right? Now, the easiest way to do this is have your CPA do it. I'll be honest with you. Like, you can calculate it all day long, but and by the way, some folks will be like, well, I don't want to, it's a lot of hassle. I don't want to have to do it. Guess what the government's going to do when you sell that property? They're going to tax you the same as if you took depreciation or not. So you just don't like money. I don't understand why you wouldn't do it. So anyway, oh, by the way, and you sometimes, like, if you put it into a 1031, depending on what you do with retirement, that's why we use. If you're going to be an investor, you have to have a tax person. You just have to. All right. So last way is amortization. Now, a lot of us have not seen an amortization schedule since we went to real estate school, right? Well, a lot of times you have to calculate that. But all it is like every year, how much does your mortgage pay off, right? Now, amortization, when you have a brand new loan, that amortization is much lower. But you got a loan that's 10 years old, how much are you paying off with the principal every month? Well, like you can, like this is just like you can find amortization schedules everywhere kind of stuff. So, here we started off with 300,000, then 297, then 294, then 290, then 286, then 282. Every year it goes up. But for like year one, it's $2,401. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Because as you pay off that mortgage, is that not realizing for savings basically at that point?
Correct.
So when you put together, you may have said, I don't want to do $200 a month in cash flow. Doesn't seem like a good investment. But when I put $2,400 in cash flow, $600 in appreciation, 27 depreciation, amortization of 24, now I've got a total of $13,000 and change, 13.5 in yearly annual return. If I had a $300,000 investment and I put 20% down, I'd have $60,000 in cash in it. On my $60,000 that I invested, I'm getting back 13,000. That's a 22% return on investment. Now, do y'all remember in the very beginning, right? What kind of return do you want? What kind of return do you expect?
You said some people, 5 to 7%,
Yeah.
10%.
Yep, remember, stocks, bonds, gold, or do you want to run a 22% return?
Mhm.
If somebody says I want to run a 22% return, can we give them that?
Mhm.
Yes. Are these made up BS numbers?
No.
No, it isn't, right? So it's all backed up. So let's talk about I'm going to show you how I analyze this investment. So this is a rental property. This one's probably about 2 years old. So this is this is how I analyze an investment. I am a napkin scratch paper investor, if that makes any sense.
Yes.
If it requires me more than a piece of paper or a napkin to figure out if I want to do it, I don't. If it's so complicated that I can't cipher it out, then I don't want anything to do with it. So this is how I break down an investment. I take a piece of paper, I just draw a big T or square on the whole thing, just put a big cross in there. Top left-hand corner, income, right? So whatever your monthly rental income is, how do you find that number?
You don't get it from Zillow.
Zillow, like I use Zillow. I'll go in and I'll look up. I'll just look at rentals in the neighborhood and see, and I'll be this. That's all I did for this one. I found some that were 21, some 2,000, some 25. I'm like, all right, 22 is a good number for me to be at there. You with me?
Yep.
Now, if your property has, like, if it's a multifamily, sometimes it'll have laundry, sometimes it'll have a detached garage, if it has any of that other kind of stuff, put it in there because all that is part of your monthly income. Bottom left, here's your income. This is where you're going to, this is all your expenses. This is where you're going to be using. This is where we're going to calculate. What are we going to calculate out of this?
Your expenses.
NOI.
Expense.
NOI. The whole idea here is we want to calculate what our net operating income. So we got to get that together. So taxes. How do we find out what taxes are?
Go on the
Tax.
tax.
Yeah.
register.
Now, one thing to be careful of, if you buy a property and it's owner occupied, your taxes are going to go up year two. If it currently has homestead, you'll get the benefit for the first year. But after that, you're going to be paying taxes. So just to kind of know that going into it, but that will be your first year. But go in there, take that tax rate, divide it by 12. Insurance. On my insurance, I'm only insuring the building,
Correct.
right? And that's to replace the building. I'm not insuring any contents. We ask our tenants, they need to have renter's insurance, right? So all I'm doing is just doing the building. So on that, you can also find insurance that is targeted towards investors. So it runs me between $100 to $150 a month is about what my homeowner's insurance runs on that point, because I've got really high deductibles, the whole 9 yards, because it's just an investment on here. Now, if the property, if like electric, water, all that is included, then you'd have to put that in there. But for most of the time, that's just going to be a pass through. If the neighborhood has an HOA, include that HOA.
And lawn care.
Please charge them for lawn care and include it in there.
Yep.
Otherwise, what ends up happening is they won't mow their grass and you'll get bills. So this is a much easier way to be. If your neighborhood has an HOA, include lawn care in the monthly thing, and that's just how it has to be. When I rent it out in an HOA neighborhood, I insist on that. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Otherwise, you get these random bills and trying to get the tenants to pay those bills later on. It's just a giant pain in the butt. Vacancy. You're always going to have some vacancy, unfortunately, right? You're going to, even on really great properties, you're going to have some vacancy. So we put 5% in that on a monthly basis. Now, once I build up a nest egg above enough, I don't keep putting in, but I budget for it, especially in the very beginning. Repairs, depending on the property, it could be $50, $20, $100 a month. But when somebody moves out, are you gonna put carpet in? Are you gonna paint? You know, like some of this stuff is just like normal wear and tear. Sometimes we've had tenants that have lived there for years and they didn't do anything wrong. It's just dingy, like the carpet's worn. It's got a track running through there. It's not that it was dirty, not that they did anything wrong. I'm gonna have to put some money into the property. So setting that money aside is a really good thing. We also look at putting some money into CapEx. Those are your big deals. A roof, HVAC systems, new windows. If you're dealing with an older home, you may want to put some more. If you're dealing with C-class properties, you may want to put a little bit more into CapEx every month. And then property management fees. I am a huge proponent of property management. Shoni runs the property management. She is, and look, if you're going to do your own property management, you're going to be ready to run around with a plunger in your trunk. I'm serious. I'm not a, y'all want to know why I started using property management? I went to pick up rent, and Ming and I, we share our credit cards, we share everything. And so I go to pick up, she sends me to pick up rent. Let me rephrase that. I go, and then she calls me an hour later, she goes, "What did you buy at Kroger for $200? I'm like, okay, Billy, he lost his job, and the babies, they didn't have any diapers, and they didn't have any cereal or milk." She goes, "So did you pick up rent?" "Oh, the rent wasn't ready." And she goes, "So not only did you not pick up rent, you bought $200 worth of groceries for our tenants." I'm not a good landlord, right?
Yeah.
Now I'll be fine if it was your property, but when it's my property, I have a really hard time. So I'd have to have a property manager, or else I'm a terrible.
Me too.
Yeah. So for me, that is such a necessary expense. It's not even funny. Not only that, when you really start looking at the liability of not doing it, of doing it yourself that comes along with it, Shoni knows more rules and regulations than I do. She knows how to keep me out of trouble. She knows how to make sure that we don't violate any fair housing rules and laws and those kind of things. It's super important. So a property management to me is a necessary expense. We work with a lot of investors that do manage their own, but most of the time these are professionals that kind of know what they're doing. That becomes their full-time job. For most people just running one or two, I strongly recommend property management. And then mortgage. You can use mortgage calculators all day. So you see if we could add all that up, total expenses. Now, top right-hand corner, NOI. Okay, income less expenses. So $2,200 less my taxes, my insurance, my vacancy, my repairs, all that kind of stuff. Not CapEx, because CapEx is not part of it. So if I add up all my income less expenses, that leaves me $1,370 in NOI. Times 12 months, that means I have annual NOI of $16,440. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
So cash flow. Cash flow is nothing but NOI less my mortgage. Well, I got my NOI from above, $1,370 less $935 is my actual mortgage. So that puts me at $435 a month in cash flow. Times 12 gives me annual cash flow of $5,220. Bottom right is my calculations. Gross rent multiplier, GRM. For me, it's a 13.2, which is actually a little bit low for me. 1% rule. Do I hit the 1% rule?
Yes.
Yep, we do. Cap rate, Cap rate is nothing, the NOI that we have above divided by my purchase price. So six is annual cash flow, so annual NOI divided by purchase price, so 16,440 divided by 200,000, that's an 8 cap, 8.2. Cash on cash return, my total investment on this property was 70,000. My cash flow divided by 70,000, that's a 7.5% cash on cash return. Are you guys with me? Now we flip the napkin over. Appreciation. Super easy. If I just do half of it at 2.2%, that's $4,400 a year. Amortization, year one is $1,100. Depreciation, we talked about that. Property value 200, land value 35, cost basis 165. Divide that by 27 and a half years, $6,000 times the tax rate of 33%, gives me $1,980 a year. So then I take cash flow from the other side, cash flow, appreciation, depreciation, amortization. That's my total. Divide that by my total investment. It's an 18.1% return on investment. When you break down an investment like this, does the investor have everything they need to make a decision?
Yes.
So many investors have no idea how to analyze an investment. They're like, oh, that house looks pretty. Oh, that's nice. Now, your professionals actually understand how this goes. But I want you to understand how powerful this is for being able to present this to investors. To show, like if you showed this to an investor and said, hey, I got this property, all this information here about it. Do they have everything that they need to know? What's your target return on it? That kind of stuff. Like, here's another one, right? This one's listed, Riverdale, 175,000, 3.2, 30-year loan, 20% down payment. Like, we could go through and do the exact same thing. That makes sense?
Yeah.
Now, just because we don't have much time, we go through and figure the whole thing out. Would you buy this home? So a lot of people look at the first house I put up and think, pretty little house. I'd do that one. But really, when you start looking at this one, that other house is an 18% return. This one's almost 30. From an investment point of view,
It's more of a risk. This one too.
this one is a little bit more of a risk, but look at the return.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
What's your goal? Right?
Yeah.
I mean, like
You gotta know your area.
You get- well, but-
It's
but-
rental capital.
right.
Everybody trying to rent.
When you, I mean, what I'm doing here on the breakdowns, like I encourage you to like, you got some stuff in your book there, but like there is nothing magical about this. It's just most people don't know and don't take the time to learn it and be able to do this on a regular basis. Like the more you play with it, the easier that this gets to be. None of these numbers that we went through are like, oh my gosh, hardcore math. You can find it everywhere.
Correct.
It's just being able to do it and analyze it. Because see, the great thing about these guys who buy these properties, do they buy one?
No.
No, we have one guy, he bought 22 homes over like 12 months, 14 months. We've had several people over the years that every time they make another $30,000, $40,000, they go buy another investment property. That can be really nice from just a transaction point of view kind of thing. You get some investors like this can be really, really great. The other thing for real estate professionals, like you have a couple of good months, you're sitting on 40, 50 grand. Are you gonna go grab an investment?
Absolutely.
I mean, with the DSCR alone, it doesn't matter. Now, one thing you can also do, if you go into RPR, you can go into RPR and they have this thing called Valuate. You can put this on pretty forms, but all this is just the same numbers that we did, looking all fancy. If that makes any sense. It will calculate some of them for you, but like it's really doesn't do anything that great for me. But when you start looking at what if the property appreciates more than 4%? What happens the longer that you pay off the mortgage? Well, the more that your amortization. What happens if rent goes up by $50 a month? What happens if you manage the property yourself? All these things change as you go along. See, like you just take that one property and say, hey, Governing Georgia, here's all the numbers on this house. Do you want to give them the address?
Mm-mm.
Hell no. Absolutely not,
I'm
right?
just gonna do it without you.
That's right. Right. I want you to cut me out. I want to be able to build a relationship with you. I want you to be able to trust me and know that I can find the right properties for you. But that is that property. You can send out a newsletter, do the exact same kind of thing. Right? Put it out on social media. Y'all with me?
Absolutely.
All right. So I love doing this type of investing. I love being an investor. I love working with investors. It's a great way to kind of get you up and rolling. Questions? All right, let's move on. Talk about the 70%. This is for fix and flips as well as fixer upper rentals. So I buy on the 70% rule. And all the 70% rule is fair market value times 70% less repairs.
Okay.
Everyone kind of,
Okay.
yeah, right?
The less repairs part, you kind of coming up with that with your inspection and
Well, yeah, like the more you do, the better off you're going to get at it.
correct.
But this is how we buy property. Now, I am a flipper. When I flip property, let me just stop real quick. A lot of people think paint carpet type of flips are low risk. They are not. They are the highest risk flips that you can do. Because if all I'm going to do is just put a little bit of lipstick on the pig, there's not much margin. There's not much room in there. However, if I take a property and I'm building value in, there's always a lot of margin. There's always a lot of safety that comes in through doing that. You are not going to find a paint carpet job that nets you a 30% return. It's just not, I mean, like that, there might be some anomalies here and there, but generally speaking, you're not going to be able to build a business on that. So these are properties that need some rehab, need some repair, they need some love, that kind of stuff. Now, one thing that comes off of this is the BRRRR strategy. You may have heard of the BRRRR strategy? It's a B and 4 R's, right? So the first B is buy, right? Then rehab, rent, refinance, repeat. So let's break that down. So we buy a property on the 70% rule. So after repaired value or fair market value, the one, it's $145,000 times 70, less 25,000 in repairs, means that the most I can pay for this property is $76,500. Are you with me?
Yes.
So we buy a property. It must be at a discount. It must be in a property that needs some love, needs some repair. So I buy it for $75,000. I actually put 30 grand into it. So my first R is rehab. So I put 30 into it. How much am I into it now for? 105, right? Now that the property is rehab, what can I rent it for? Much higher rental rates because now the house is fixed up. So I rent it for $1,500 a month after cash and debt flow, all that kind of stuff. Now I'm cash flowing $200 a month. That's not counting all the other things out there. Now I go out and I get the property refinanced. Remember our fair market value of 145. If I refinance it at 70% of appraised value, I'm getting back 101.5. What was my total investment in this property? 105. Now I have an investment property that I spent 105 on, and I just got 101.5 back. So this property, I'm out $3,500, and I have a rental property. That's cash flow. The last R, repeat. Now I take that 105 or 101.5. What do I go do now? Go buy another property and then turn around. Now, if you don't have the good appraisals, like if the bank won't refi, there's definite risk. But this is how people are building large portfolios of rental property. The numbers really do work. Like here's like for us, we've done it in Macon, Columbus, and Augusta. We can't do it in Atlanta. Or at least we've not been able to hit those numbers there. So This property, buy it for 17.5, put in buy it 50, 17.5, in it for 67.5. Rents for 11.50 a month, refinance 105. So less our 70%. So we got 73.5 on a property. We actually cash flowed on this property. So I got 73.5 on a property I spent 67.5 on. That make sense? Yeah. Like you just find all these little properties. What you're really looking for, this is the kind of stuff that you're looking for. Look at this listing, or look at this list of properties.
Mhm.
I've got 110, 59, 100, 100, 16, 5, 30, 34. I'm all over the place. I'm looking for a wide spread, right? So are there properties that need help? For sure. But what are flip properties going for? 100 grand.
Yeah.
All right. Well, here's another one. This is Linmore, 32, 84, 139, 165, 132. This is all the same neighborhood, right? The BRRRR strategy doesn't work everywhere, but where it does, it can be a really good thing. Here's another one, same kind of thing. You know, we go from 80,000 to 150, 130, 125,000 in there. So those are probably really rough, would be my guess.
Still having this prices in Macon?
Macon is, yeah. Macon, Columbus, and Augusta are probably the three. Well, it's a different world though. I personally am not a Macon fan. Macon's a
Macon
really
can be
tough place
rough.
to be.
You don't know where you're at.
Well,
You're-
even then, you know, it really is a very depressed market. I think you need to plan on holding on to it for a good while before you start seeing any kind of real appreciation there. So I'm not like, yay, Macon. Every time I go to Macon, I scrape by. So, you know, I keep wanting to go back because the entry level price is so nice. It's like, it's a great deal. And then I'm like, okay, I didn't make very much either. But I haven't lost money there, but it hadn't been great. So let's talk about the fix and flips in here. This is one that a lot of people are very interested on the flipping side. And so I'm going to break down my flips. So your biggest challenge, you're going to have a lot of challenges on the flipping side. So went out just polling them. Here's your big one. Financing, working with contractors, managing your budget, staying in your timeline. And then permitting inspections is another one in here kind of thing. You know, if you can turn it every 4 months, you're doing really good. My goal is always 3 months, but I never hit that target. It's really hard to do. You make your money on the buy, not on the sell. You cannot overprice on a flip property. You can't overpay on a flip property. You aren't buying a property to live in. You aren't buying a property because it looks so pretty. There should be no emotional attachment. Yeah, exactly. Like when I make an offer, it's because it fits in my buy box. I may wiggle a little bit, $1,000, maybe $2,000 here or there. But like, let's say I pay $2,000 more for a property than I wanted to. Where's that money come out of? My pocket, right? It's not like I can just, okay, well, I'll sell it for more. It doesn't work like that. It's not going to change my fair market value at the end. So if I pay more, I'm just out. Don't get optimistic. If anything, be very pessimistic about it all. Now, when I rehab, you know, like, you know, what everybody does, I do. I agree. Kitchen upgrades, kitchen bath is a big deal. For me, always I focus on first health and safety. Like those have to you know, sometimes the front porch, the deck, whatever, stairs, any of that kind of stuff. Health and safety has to get done. I'm almost always going to paint. So that's kind of a given. Paint and flooring. Now, I love carpet. Well, you're like, well, but what about LVP? What about this, right? Carpet is cheap. That's right. I love brand new wall-to-wall carpet, right? Because it fits right. Now you may say, oh, but I love doing accent walls. I do this. You can love that all day long, but are you going to get a return in a lot of cases?
Do it in your house.
Yeah, exactly. So I do focus on the kitchen. Kitchen is a big deal. Like you'll notice when you go show houses, where does everybody start? I mean, when you take a buyer, you open the door, where's everybody go to? The kitchen. That's it. So I always focus on the kitchen and then the master bathroom.
Yeah.
Secondary bathrooms, mama don't care. I'm sorry. I mean, it has to be pretty. It has to be okay, but it ain't gotta be all that. The master has to be out there. The other thing I look at is outdoor living. Outdoor living is a big deal to me
Yes.
because it'll be 100 damn degrees and we are going to be sitting on that back porch, right? I don't know. We don't care. We're Southerners. We don't mind the heat. So outdoor living is a big deal. On most of your properties, there's something that's like a duh, like you just have to do it. It's just something that it may not be health and safety, but sometimes you look and you're just like, all right, that's stupid. I just got to do that. And then I focus on the front yard and backyard, but for different reasons. What do you think front yard focus is? Curb appeal. Like y'all ever taken people to a house and you pull in the driveway and like, nope, nope.
Oh, yeah.
So curb appeal on the front. What about backyard?
Outdoor living.
70% of people have pets.
I was about
Oh,
to say,
yeah.
family.
I pay a lot of attention to pets. Like if there's a fence that needs mending, I'm gonna mend it. If I can put a fence in, I'm gonna put a fence in. But I want back door. I want to make sure I'm taking. It sounds weird, but more people have pets than have kids.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
It's true, and they will make buying decisions for
Based off
Fido.
this.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
I'll
So
buy a house just around the dog.
yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? But then I always put granite in. I still love granite. I'll share my guy with you if you want, but normally $30 a foot for granite. Now, when you do things like granite, you don't want to go get the fancy things. Like there's 5 or 6 different granites that you can put in that are really good quality granite, but you have 4 or 5 colors you pick from, and you stay with those, and then those are really economical. Carpet vinyl, like I said on there, I almost always do a backsplash. Backsplashes are cheap and easy to do, and then definitely curb appeal. Now, when it comes to actually doing the work, you're either going to have a contractor or you're going to have a rehabber / flipper as a worker. Both should be licensed, whether they're a contractor or a GC. Now, what you're going to see is that your renovators, these are guys that generally have a small crew. They do some of everything. They'll do a little plumbing, a little this, a little bit of that. They'll still pull their permits, and then, but they take good stuff and work with it. Most of the time, my rehabbers, we in a lot of cases, we don't change out the kitchen cabinets. We put new granite on and we paint them. We may put down new flooring, but we're not rebuilding walls, that kind of stuff. Now, your contractors, that's the rip it all out, let God sort it out kind of guys, right? Most of the time, your contractors don't have a crew. They sub everything out. And so they're going to have an electrician, a plumber, HVAC guy. They're going to be the ones that take it down to the studs and then build it back up, maybe even build it from scratch. So both of them, there's a time and a place for each one of them to operate. You really need to have them on here. My biggest piece is whether you're handy, whether your spouse or partner's handy, please avoid doing it yourself. Notice where the door handle is. Yeah. So you need to build a team, because when you flip, time is money, right? Whether you're using hard money or your money or something else, if I can't flip in a timely manner, it costs me money. Now, you want to start building a team. So as you're going out, if I see a sketchy white van in front of a house with a door open and I need someone, that's where I stop and talk to them. That's how I started. Like I got so many of my subs just from driving by. Like the brick guy, he was building the front entrance on one of the big builder neighborhoods kind of thing. And all these guys all work off word of mouth. Ain't none of them got a website. Like these are people, these are folks in the trades, right? And so you see some guys throwing up framing, go get a card, go talk to them, like that kind of stuff. You see someone doing plumbing and it looks like a good guy, just go speak to them. They all want your business.
Yes.
And so a lot of your GCs, they'll have a list of subs. If you trust them, let them do that. I'm not saying not to vet them. You're going to need an HVAC, a plumber, electrician, all that kind of stuff. Painters, you'll change painters like you do underwear. It's the most trend of all the trades, that kind of stuff. But you will start acquiring these different people. You need two types of yard guys. You need the one who does the maintenance and the one that can clean up a big mess. Those kind of things. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah.
So, but the best piece of advice is don't do it yourself. I tried doing it myself. Ming and I would, like I spent years just, it's not a big one, I'll do it. I remember it was, we had finally gotten almost the work done. And so we're blowing insulation into the attic. And Ming's in the bottom putting insulation into the thing, but we didn't notice that the little prong on the thing had broken off. So she's throwing the insulation in the thing, but it generates a lot of static electricity. So she's getting shocked and she's screaming. She's sending it up the pipe and I'm getting shocked. And it's 110 degrees in the attic. So it was just, yeah. And then we spent every weekend, like it's just not worth it. Hire the folks to do it. They're going to do a better job than you. They're going to do it faster than you, and it's going to save you money in the long run. So when you find a flip, you want, these are your basic steps. You identify it. You estimate the renovation price. You always start with what you can sell it for. That's the very first step in doing it. Estimate your total cost, determine the max price that you can offer on the 70% rule, 70% less repairs, make an offer, get an offer accepted, do your due diligence, do your inspections, reevaluate. So like always have your financing set up ahead of time. If you don't set up your financing, it will cost you time. Right? And nothing worse than finding a great deal and not being able to buy it. So start working on getting your financing squared away. Have a crew ready to go. It's okay. Like day one is normally demo day. I like to show up on day one. I'm always there on day one on demo day because that's the day a lot of things happen. But you want to be able to you need to be ready to go like right out of the gate. So you find a property, it's listed for 125, right? So you run your comparables, you come up with an after repaired value, a fair market value. So, okay, so it's 225. 225 is once it's all done and dusted, that's my after repair value. So I look at the property, go to evaluate the property, it's going to cost us at least $50,000 in repairs. All right. So we get our offer, 225, less 70, less 50. That means I can offer 1075. Well, but they want 125. What's my offer? 1075. Right, exactly. One thing that you're going to do is you're going to submit offers and you're not going to counter. Yeah. Because if you counter back, unless you kind of go in expecting a counter, right? I mean, if I went in at 105, maybe I could come in, I could move up to 1025 or 1075. But like if you come in, then that's your number. A lot of times you will not submit one offer and get one property. You'll submit 10 offers and get one property, right? And in a lot of cases, what happens, I'll submit an offer, the agent will make fun of me. Like, are you serious? They'll try and shame me. Well, where's the real offer? What are you doing here? I'm like, that's my offer. If you don't like it, it's okay. It doesn't hurt my feelings. I don't get all my emotions about it. Like here's the offer. Here's where it's at. A lot of times I get a call back a month, sometimes a month and a half later. Hey, Alan, that offer I gave you crap about. I think you might be you coming up a little bit. Like maybe we can work something out. Once the market catches up, that kind of stuff. But you don't give up. You keep placing offers. But you don't. If I can just go up to 125, right? That's a lot more money that I have to come up with somewhere else. So you get the property 1075, you go into contract, get the property inspected. You're going to use that inspection to make your scope of work. It's going to help you not miss things, that kind of stuff. You send over the earnest money, meet with a contractor. Now's when you want to finalize it. If you haven't already met with a contractor before, like me, I don't normally meet with a contractor until I'm at this point, but I can estimate better out. If I was my first time out, I would have the contractor out from the very beginning. I would still meet with the contractor again once the inspection is done so that we can nail down the scope of work. What's going to get done, what is not going to get done, that kind of stuff. Finalize your financing, deal with any kind of contingencies that you need to. You want to close on the property, get insurance, and order a dumpster. Get those things knocked out. Turn on your utilities. If you need to pull permits, pull permits. Whatever demo day is, go. Because whatever your plans that you've made on demo day changes. As soon as you go in and we knock out a wall, we pull up flooring. Oh, look, now we got to change out the plumbing. Does that mean that your budget can change?
Yes.
Well, it can, but like
You make
I was
changes
planning on
up
putting a
there.
10 by 20 deck. Looks like we're going with a 10 by 10 deck. I wanted to be able to put in new cabinets. Looks like we're refurbishing these. Some decisions are going to have to get made. You can't just up your budget. You have to move things around, change things, figure out what you're going to do. Okay, I wanted to finish that room in the basement. All we can do is, like we can't do this. We have to do that. It has to be able to fit still inside that budget. You've got to be able to work that. And that's why you go to demo day, because, like all the, it's kind of like going into battle. They all have these great plans, but once the battle starts, all those plans change. You have to be flexible to change, and your scope of work will change. Then you work your budget, you work it every single week. You keep up with your expenses in here. At the very end, hold back 10%. I still hold back 10%. And I've worked with one of my guys I've worked with for 15 years. A lot of their profit is in that last 10%. Getting them to finish the little things at the very end, it will be one of the biggest pain in the butts that you have with any of your contractors. And these guys I love, right? They picked up my kids from school before. Good people. They will still not get the little stuff done at the very end. Stage, list, and sell the home. Now, keep up with your expenses. Don't ask me for an Excel spreadsheet. There is nothing magical on this. Okay, this is nothing but Excel or what's the Google version of it kind of thing.
Yeah.
You sit in here. Here's my after repair value. Here's my budget. And here's my purchase price, acquisition cost. And here's all my hard costs.
Hard,
This-
that word hard again.
Would you like fixed costs? I mean, like I don't know what to do. I have soft costs on here too.
Okay, but the
But
list
like-
is not as long on the soft.
But what you're going to see is the hard cost. That's going to be your scope of work.
Correct.
Okay. Your soft costs are going to be like permits, designs, insurance, property taxes, those kind of things, utilities. All that's going to be in your soft cost. Your hard cost, let's call that scope of work to make you feel better, Sean. Right. But this is how you keep up and run your numbers. Whenever something gets done, you mark it off what it actually costs. Like the demo cost me more or less. All right, it was this, that kind of stuff. Sometimes, depending on your contractors, you do want a contractor that will do the whole work. Please don't try and piecemeal this. And what I mean by that is, like, I may have it broken down so I can keep up with the expenses, but my contractor's doing all of it. And the reason that's important is if you don't do it that way, then what happens is like you walk in and the wall's all wonky. And you're like, what's up? The painter's like, well, that's the wall that was here. The sheetrocker's like, well, that's the wall that was here. And the framer's like, that's the wood that they gave me. And then so, well, that's the wood that you ordered. I'm paying you for a straight wall. That's what I worry about. Does that make sense? When you have one person, that's what you get. When you try and piecemeal it, now you're the middleman on everything, and it's a pain in the butt. So, list price 78, rehab 40K, after repair value 130,000. How much you offer? Well, pull your phones out. You don't have a calculator on your cell phone? Oh, come on. Don't lie to me.
Maybe
130,000
I was thinking like
times 0.7 less $40,000. What's your offer?
90.
51. Y'all with me?
You did the math.
All right, say the math again, because I got something different.
After repair value, 130
Okay.
times 70, times 70%,
70%, that's where I went wrong. Gotcha.
less rehab.
Gotcha. Yes, sir.
Y'all with me?
Yes.
All right. This one's listed for 90. After repair value is only 120. Rehab's 15,000. What's your offer?
80, 39, 85.
120. 7. That's 69,000.
I still messed it up.
Is that what y'all got? $120,000 times 0.7 less 15,000,
Yes.
See what I did?
69,000.
Yes.
right?
I
Yeah.
left a zero off.
Me
but-
too.
Well, I mean, but this is how, like again, on the $90,000, are they gonna love my $69,000 offer?
No,
Does that bother me greatly?
no.
Am I gonna stay up at night? No, but that's what it is.
You'd stay up at night if you offered more.
Yeah. Okay, last one. After repair value 200,000, it's listed for 125, 40 in rehab. So 200,000. Oh, that was easy. 100 grand.
That ain't bad. People
Huh?
offering that kind of offers on things that's already ready to go. Not bad.
So let's talk about a house. Here's a house. So let me paint the picture for you. You pull up to this house and it's buzzing. There's wood bees all in the side, everywhere. On my second trip to the house, there was 2 snakes curled up doing the nasty coming out of the roof, out of the soffit. No carpet because it stunk like cat pee. The kitchen cabinet, this weird, it was like shelf paper, but on the countertop.
It was their upgrade.
It was an upgrade, right? You couldn't get to the backyard. The door to the backyard was on the side of the house by the garage. So it was listed for 120. It's going to cost me about 40 to rehab it. After repair, 220. 70% rule meant I could offer 114. I was financing it myself. So I offered 110 and I did spend an extra 1,000. I did acquire it for 150. Make sense? We put in $42,000 in repairs. Now,
Okay. What did you estimate on the repairs?
40.
40, okay. all right.
Yeah, I've already screwed my budget up and I paid more than I should have. Great example for me to use.
15,000.
I want you to look though. Look at the kitchen cabinets.
Mhm.
How about now?
We just painted them,
Yep.
but added a new granite countertop, backsplash.
You
And
see
what
that
the
ugly
hell is
thing in
that?
the fireplace?
Mhm.
We couldn't figure out how to get the damn thing out. We tried to get rid of it, the regular fireplace. I think they built the house around whatever that iron stove thing is. We had to paint the outside because we had to replace so much of the wood that had wood bees in it. Put new granite countertops on it. We added a deck on the back, replaced where a window was, that kind of stuff. So this is we put in $42,000 on this one. Okay. So my after repair value, 225. Sales and closing cost was 20. Holding cost 3, rehab cost 42, cost me 3,000 for financing, personal, $1,000 for purchase. I bought it for 115. My pre-tax profit was 44,000.
Nice.
This is normal. The 100,000, the bazillions of dollars they show on TV, I don't see it. That's not realistic to me. You can still make really good money. You can do really well, but like, would you do this house? It's very easy to sit and say, I would do this house when you look at it this way. But when you walk up to a house
It looks like.
and there's bees everywhere, it smells like cat pee, and there's no flooring, and you're like, I'm gonna spend $115,000 on a turd with a door. Right? That's, I mean, you have to be ready to I'm serious. Like it is an emotional thing when you go and spend $100,000 or $200,000 on a property and it looks like that. They're rough. So what I'm saying is you have to believe in your numbers, believe in the process. But it really does work, but you have to get past that, because to get to that, you got to start with the other thing, right? So typical profit is somewhere in the 10 to 19% range. Some people do 20 to 30%. I run 22 to 28. I probably 25, 26 is my average return. That makes sense? So if I'm not enough, they're going to be the ones that kick you in the butt. Not enough money, time, skills, knowledge, and patience. You do have to be very patient. You do have to look at ugly things and turn them into pretty things. You have to be willing to go through the process and the time frame and the frustrations. But you got to be ready for some of the crazy. You know, like, so bought this house, and then I found out something was eating the toilet seat.
That's not saying it looks like something ate the toilet seat.
Something's eating a toilet seat, right? Yeah. So that we had not rats, like gutter rats, like New York City subway
Oh.
rats is what we had, right?
Mini dogs.
Yeah. Now, like this is the same space, but it's hard when you're having to go through and like I'm ripping all that out. Now I'm just down to this. Being able to picture it and be able to stay sane and not lose your mind is I'm just saying like
Yeah.
I'm not trying to make it overplay that it's super emotional, that kind of stuff, but like it does get you a little bit. It still gets me at that point.
Oh,
I don't know if you noticed, but that's the bathroom when we bought it. Now, we did an inspection and we knew that the floor was rotted under the shower.
Mhm.
It's still something when you go in and there's no more floor. You know what I mean? Because like the floor is just gone, right? So let me give you a few things to really, really watch out for. Avoid old houses, like really old houses. Anything before the 40s, that kind of stuff. Really old farmhouses, that kind of stuff. Their foundations are garbage. The electrical is gone. The plumbing is non-existent. Trying to rip off like old slat ceiling, and take down to do an old like Victorian or farmhouse kind of thing. Whatever your budget is, double it at least, maybe triple it. So avoid the really old houses. They may look like a great project and you want to do one and they look so much fun and HGTV, so that's got all motivated. Yeah, it's going to cost you through the nose. Mildew and mold is a big deal. You don't want to have to deal with it. You don't want your people to have to deal with it. So remediation is never cheap. So don't think, oh, it's just a little bit of mold. No, somebody's going to have to deal with that, and it's never cheap to deal with mold. Asbestos. Now, most of the asbestos that we have is either going to be in HVAC ducts, the old ducts where you see that stuff painted on, that white stuff on old ducts. A lot of that is asbestos. A lot of really old vinyl floors is asbestos, and a lot of the exterior siding on some older homes pre-1978 is asbestos. Dealing with it is not cheap. So like you got to have it tested, you got to deal with it. It's a little bit of a racket in that like the people who work on it have to wear hazmat suits. They have to double bag it and then they go throw it in their regular dumpster. I don't know why, but that's how they do it. It's true. All right, roofing. Avoid Atlas Chalet shingles. That's a picture of them down there. They look 3-tab, but they're not. They look architectural, but it's painted on 3 tabs. You can't get homeowners insurance with Atlas Chalet shingles. So don't mess around with them unless you're planning on replacing the roof, because you're going to be replacing the roof on those. If on older homes, anything built from the 50s to 70s, if it has Zinco, Sylvania, or Federal Pacific electrical panels, you're probably gonna have to change the panels. They have this nasty habit of lighting themselves on fire. So they get really hot.
So,
And
man,
so-
wasn't that a TV brand too?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Lord, that's
Uh,
old.
but one thing that you want your home inspectors, you gotta have power on, but you want the home inspectors, they'll do a thermal camera on the, and like, it's crazy. On these, they'll do a thermal camera and the whole thing is glowing. You can even see it inside the walls where the wires are because it glows because it's whacked out. So water intrusion, always expensive on there. Aluminum wiring from 1960, 1975, a lot of houses have aluminum wire. It's another one that is, it doesn't mean it's a deal killer. I did one not that long ago, but it's gonna affect you and it's gonna be something that comes up in the inspections. Be ready for that. Foundation problems, outrageously expensive. You're not just gonna work around a foundation problem. Like they're all tens and 20s thousands of dollars, that kind of stuff. Understanding the difference between hard coat and synthetic stucco. You can't touch the soil, has to have an air gap of at least 3 inches on there. There is a point where it's just a lot better to gut it all. Don't be afraid of that. Sometimes it still works on there. Cast iron or clay pipes, like a lot of times we'll do stuff around Historic College Park, that kind of stuff. They're always garbage. They may look fine until you touch them and then they just disintegrate. So watch out for those. Old trees in the yard, like sometimes these beautiful old trees, it's got a septic system, that thing's shot. Like you're gonna be replacing that on there kind of thing. So you gotta manage your numbers as you're going through. This is one of the big things that especially starting off, people don't keep up with it. Even if you have your contractor, when you do your scope of work, keep up with all the expenses as you go down through it. I only do it on a weekly basis. I don't do it more than once a week, but we go through everything that's going to get that's getting done and staying on top of your expenses is really vitally important for you to be really successful on this. You know, like this is another one. This one's we just closed on this like a month or two ago. Hidden Branch, bought at 165, sale price 312. There's all of my expenses all the way down through.
Got rid of that tree. Did you, Alan, or you in front
No,
of the tree?
I didn't get it.
Oh, okay.
No. You might, it's just a good angle, but the tree's right damn there. Yeah. So that's one that I can't even remember what we put into that one kind of thing. But these are really like you can look up that now a lot of times your flipping shows, you know, they all show all the good stuff. I'll show you the bad stuff too. But this one, you know, that one's in Douglasville. That's a very common standard flip for what we do. This one, we're under contract right now, closing on this one, but this is one that we bought. You can pull it up in the MLS if you want to. I don't care. I just, but wallpaper from hell. Everywhere, wallpaper. That's where we're at. That's where we ended up now. So we acquired it for 173. I'm under contract for 400. So that's one that we got really lucky on the buy. But
It's on the lake.
it is on the lake, yes.
Mhm.
So the 65 repairs also, I had to have foundation work done. It cost me 22,000 in foundation repair. So that's part of that also that wasn't in there. The 65 was just the regular rehab. We had 22 in foundation repairs, which is why we got it for the price that we did. We went into it knowing that we had to do that. This one is actually, I just put it on the market. So, but like everything that you could make ugly is ugly in this house. Like from the
Orange wall.
the pumpkin wall with the black tile and I don't mind dirty. I don't like dog poop on carpet. That
Yeah.
just grosses me out.
The
You know
yellow
what I mean?
blue outside.
So, but again, you know, we are, that's that same house, right? So we bought it for 130, put 42 in it. We're currently listed. Like I said, we just went we just went on the market this past week.
Back up the pictures, Alan, please.
That one,
No,
that one.
yes.
Oh, okay. You want to see the ugly one?
Yes, I want to see it ugly.
I had a galley kitchen, you know, sometimes you just, you're stuck with what you have to do. So you work on the things that you can, try and get around the others, but no, that's the kitchen afterwards, so.
Well, yeah, nice.
But you just put in the address if you want to see that kind of stuff, so. I don't know, does anybody have any questions, anything like that? Processes, anything I can be of benefit to? So, don't be afraid of it though. Jump out there, play in it.
I need to find an investor group.
Well, what you need to do is find property. The acquisition part, this part we talked about in the very beginning, that's the biggest thing. Your money is made on the buy. So, absolutely. So, well, thank y'all.
Yeah.